In episode 1, we covered the years 1956 through 1963, as Cassius Clay first appeared in the newspapers as an amateur in the year of 1956. Clay went on to win gold in the 1960 Olympics. He competed as a light heavyweight in the Olympics. Clay was a hit at the Olympic Village and was labeled as an ambassador. He was said to be the most popular person in the village. Clay turned pro in 1960. By the time Clay turned pro, he had earned himself an audience. The media enjoyed interviewing Clay as Clay was loud, arrogant, and entertaining. He would trash talk his upcoming opponents and would even predict the round he would stop his opponents. From 1960 to 1963, Clay's popularity would grow. He would continue to trash talk his opponents and was gaining popularity by the day. Going into the year of 1964, Clay was now 19-0. He had caught the attention of Sonny Liston as he had spent the majority of 1963 trash talking the heavyweight champion Sonny Liston. Liston had been one of the most feared fighters since the early to mid-1950s. Marty Marshall was the only fighter to have ever defeated Liston, as he had defeated Liston winning a close split decision a decade earlier in the year of 1954. Since the loss to Marshall, Liston had defeated Marshall multiple times, including stopping Marshall. There's a variety of reasons why it took so long for Liston to receive a title shot, with the main reason being Liston's activity outside of the ring. The heavyweight championship was a prestigious title, and the powers that be did not want a heavyweight champion that they believed would set a bad example. Liston appeared to have an issue with law enforcement. Liston would have to constantly tell the press that he had changed, and if given a title shot, he would be a law-abiding citizen as well as a positive role model. After defeating Floyd Patterson for the heavyweight title, Liston continued to remind the media that he was no longer the troubled man he used to be. As Liston attempted to keep his cool, Clay was now in the boxing environment reminding people of Liston's past and was also telling the media that he would stop Liston in 8 rounds. Clay's big mouth also caught the attention of other fighters in the heavyweight division. Fighters such as George Chuvalo, Ernie Terrell, and Cleveland Williams constantly told the media that they wanted to fight with Clay. Again, late 1963 going into 1964, the heavyweight champion of the world was Sonny Liston. Liston was not as friendly and talkative as former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson, but Liston made an attempt to be a better citizen than his critics had said he was. By the end of 1963, it appeared as though Clay had talked his way into a fight with Liston. The official sign-in was rumored to be set for November the 5th of 1963. But on the morning of the day that the sign-in would take place, Clay and his entourage would show up at Liston's home in Denver at 3 a.m. and wake Liston up. Liston confronted Clay and Clay's entourage, and law enforcement showed up to de-escalate and place an end to the confrontation. On November 5th, 1963, Sonny Liston finally signed to fight Cassius Clay. During the signing of late 1963, World Heavyweight Champion Sonny Liston told the media that he would stop Clay in 2 rounds. Clay was predicting that he would stop Liston in the 8th round. Sonny Liston appeared to be relaxed, but not Clay. When the cameras turned on Clay, Clay would turn it up. This kind of trash talk was new to fight fans.
5 days before the fight.
That's all I need. All right, let's make a prediction. Sonny's right off to your left side. What about it?
Sonny might be great, but he will leave in 8. If he want to go to heaven, I'll get him in 7. He'll be in a worse fix if I cut it to 6. If he keeps talking jive, he'll go in 5. If he make me sore, he'll go like more. If he keeps talking about me, I'll get him in 3. If that don't do, he'll fall in 2. And if he run, he'll go in 1. And if he don't want to fight, he should keep himself home that night.
You make a serious prediction of how far you think the fight's going to go, Sonny.
Well, it's pretty hard to say because I think that he's going to try to run.
He said to have had a lot of speed, but you move around pretty good yourself. You think you can catch him all right?
I don't think he can beat me running, but I do think that he's going to run. Mouthpiece in his mouth where he can't talk. I'm going to kill him.
Get it on. Let's get it on. Want to go now? I'll look you now.
The crowd ain't big enough yet.
Paul Collins was so scared, he couldn't even walk. Man, I ain't scared. I'll come to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for you. I ain't scared of nobody. It's going to be a hard. It's going to take a good man to whoop me. You look at me, I'm loaded with confidence. I can't beat me. I had 180 amateur fights, 22 professional fights, and I'm pretty as a girl. I don't get hit. I'm so pretty.
So that's what I'm afraid of.
Where'd you start boxing? Why did you start?
I started boxing in Louisville, Kentucky.
Why?
2 years ago.
Tell me about the nice little
4 years ago. Someone stole my bicycle.
That's
And I said that if I ever catch the guy, I'm going to beat him up, but I never did catch him.
You never did?
No, but...
And you feel that you possibly could
I'm getting having fights the roughest and the toughest man in the world.
Sonny Liston.
Right.
And you feel you have a chance?
If he dreamed he beat me, he would apologize.
You really feel that strongly about it?
That's right. Sonny Liston rather take off his sport coat, soak it in gasoline, and run through hell before he fight me. 15 times I have something else I want you in the world to know. Out of my 22 professional fights, won them all, of course, knocked out 18. 15 of those 18, I told the clown the exact round he was going down. My last fight in London, England, I told the heavyweight champion of the British Empire, I said, Henry Cooper, this is no jive. The fight will end in 5. And that night, before a crowd of 55,000 people, Cleopatra was at ringside.
Was she?
Everybody was
Richard
there.
and Liz.
And he went in 5.
This is about a little girl who wanted to see the fight. You know, this is the greatest fight of all time. Children this small want to see it. So this little girl was talking to mother the day of the fight. She says, Mommy, may I go to a convention hall instead of out to play and witness the great annihilation caused by Cassius Clay? No, baby, no, you may not go, for the crowd will be fierce and wild. Gambling and betting, winning and losing isn't good for little child. But mother, I won't be alone. Other children will be with me. Cassius says that he is the greatest, and we all would like to see. Okay, darling, you may go, but come right home after the show. When she got to the fight, it was really great. Sonny Liston fell as predicted in 8. And as the people left the fight, you could hear them say, this kid is a legend, that Cassius Clay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's young, he's handsome.
They know it.
He's a poet, a prophet, and many people believe he'll be the next heavyweight champion of the world. Cassius, can I ask you how you're feeling now at this point of your training?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go to war right now.
Well, when you say you're ready to go to war right
If I
now,
see that barrel in the street, I'll beat him before the fight.
you'd actually take him on before the fight?
Beat him like I'm his daddy.
I saw Sonny Liston a few days ago, Cassius.
Ain't he ugly?
He-
He's too ugly to be the world's champ. The world's champ should be pretty like me.
Well, he told me to bet my life that you wouldn't go 3 rounds.
Well, if you want to lose your money, then bet on Sonny.
Oh, may I ask you
Because
this?
I'll never lose a fight. It's impossible. Tell him. It's impossible.
Never lost a fight in your life.
Ask any of my fans when was the last time they lost. I'm too fast.
Champion from
I'm
the
the
crib.
king.
King of
Born
the
the champ.
Born the champ from the crib. Ah!
I may ask you this. The odds are 3.5 to 1 in favor of Sonny Liston. Could you tell me what your reaction to those
Well, I
odds
don't
are?
know nothing about the odds. I don't know nothing about the gamblers or the bettors or the gangsters or nothing. All I'm going to do is put that bear on the floor, and after the fight, I'm going to build me a pretty home, and you may use him for a bearskin rug.
Well, could you do this for me? Could you tell me, does Sonny Liston's ability to compare to anybody you've fought?
Well, I make this prediction. This will be the biggest upset in all fighting history, and this will be the easiest fight of my life. The bum is too slow. He can't keep up with me. I'm too fast. He's old. I'm young. He's ugly. I'm pretty. It's just impossible for him to beat me. And as far as his ability is concerned, I know nothing about his ability. And as a matter of fact, I've never seen him fight once with Floyd Patterson, and that wasn't no fight. That was a rabbit hunt.
I told Sonny Liston a few days ago that you were an inch and a half taller than he was, and he told me that he would never know because he'd be looking down at you laying on the
Sonny
floor.
Liston is telling you all of this jive and this trash. Don't you believe a thing he's saying about he's going to lay me on the floor. Sonny Liston is training harder for this fight than any fight.
Prediction
in
on
the
the
past.
fight.
I predict that he will go in 8 to prove that I am great. And if he want to go to heaven, I'll get him in 7. He'll be in a worse fix if I cut it to 6. And if he keeps talking jive, I'll cut it to 5. And if he makes me sore, he'll go like Archie Moore. And if that don't do, I'll cut it to 2. And if he run, he'll go in 1. And if he don't want to fight, he should keep his ugly self home that night.
Do you think he'll show up for the fight?
Well, yeah, he'll show up. If he don't show up, I'll still be rich because I'm taking out $1 million insurance policy on him.
What percentage of the fans who are coming to see you fight Sonny Liston, what percentage of the fans do you feel will be coming to see him, and what percentage do you feel will be coming to see you?
Well, 100% will be coming to see me, but 99% will be coming to see me get beat.
Do you really feel that?
Because they think I talk too much. But I got these.
And they represent your thinking?
These represent dynamite. There he is.
The first heavyweight champion, John L. Sullivan, was a turn-of-the-century legend. Jack Johnson is ranked as one of the all-time greats of the division. Jack Dempsey dispensed 7 years of terror, throwing bombs for 3 minutes a round. Joe Louis Fisk massacred a record 25 title opponents. No champion ever creamed an entire heavyweight division as did Rocky Marciano.
On January 3rd of 1964, the media visited Liston's training camp. Liston told the media that he was training harder for Clay than he had trained for Floyd Patterson. The media asked Liston why he chose Las Vegas as his training site rather than Miami, where the fight was going to take place. Liston told the media that Clay was crazy and he did not want Clay interrupting his training as Clay was training in Miami. He again told the media that Clay had a big mouth and that he was going to shut Clay up. There is some rumor that Clay showed up in Vegas during this time period and Liston pulled a gun on him. But there are several conflicting stories regarding this incident. According to some people, Liston pulled a fake pistol on Clay. Some say that Liston fired blanks, playing a prank that was orchestrated by Liston's trainer, Willie Reddish. Others say Liston pulled a real pistol and just aimed it at Clay. Regardless, it does appear as though Clay did travel to Vegas at some point to continue to play his mental games on Liston. There was also another incident that had took place in Vegas after the second Patterson fight in which Liston had slapped Clay. Clay was said to have been caught off guard, and it has been said that when Clay asked Liston what his reason for slapping him was, Liston basically said it was because of Clay's big mouth, telling Clay that he was too fresh. Clay did nothing but take the slap and walk off. According to Clay and his team, Liston was now an old man and was past his prime. There were several people out there who questioned Liston's age, from fight fans to past fighters to current fighters. But some fight fans did not agree that Liston was past his prime, as Liston had just twice easily handled former heavyweight champion of the world Floyd Patterson.
Build him a nice, pretty, I want to put up a $500,000 $1 million housing project. Just officially opened up my Cassius Clay Enterprises. He dancing and jabbing, I look like Sugar Ray. Hooking, jabbing and left hooking, jabbing and left hooking. Yeah, I'm a pretty fighter. I don't get it. See how pretty and smooth I am. I don't get cut or marked. I'm something new. The game is alive. What new things will be dead? The reporter's got something to write about. When he said, "Do you feel that?" I said, "No."
you're going to witness the greatest amateur fight of all time. Two-time national Golden Glove champion, two-time national AAU champion, and 1960 World Olympic gold medal winner in Rome. I have highlights of all of those fights, and I want you to see them. I'm not only the world's greatest pro or the next champ, but I was the greatest amateur, and a lot of people don't know that. And I would love for you to see a few of my amateur fights.
Well, I'd love to see them, Cassius. Can you put it on?
The greatest amateur that ever lived. You watch this close.
January 10th, 1964. Over the past year, Clay had been calling Liston a big ugly bear. He decided to have a little fun in early January, bringing an ape mascot that he would compare to Sonny Liston. Clay would playfully spar with the ape and tell observers that the ape was nearly as ugly as Sonny Liston. Clay's promoter, Chris Dundee, was present and told the media that Clay was the best fighter in the world and that the fight fans was underestimating Clay. Chris was the older brother of Clay's trainer, Angelo Dundee. January 7th was the day Clay started training in Miami, which was the location the bout was scheduled to take place. Both Clay and Liston spent a lot of time with the media. Sonny Liston was a huge sports fan. He enjoyed watching baseball, basketball, and football. When the media would come and visit Sonny, Sonny would sometimes talk about other sports, mostly football. He was a huge fan of the Denver Broncos and was down with the Broncos squad, even spending a great deal of time with the Broncos, going to their practices throughout football season. The Denver Broncos was also using Sonny Liston to help them negotiate with college talent. Sonny Liston was also beaten up on sparring partners. One of the sparring partners Sonny Liston was punishing was a young fighter named Leotis Martin. Martin was beat up so bad by Sonny that he asked for time off. Sonny would give Martin the requested time off, and Martin would not join Liston again until Liston would later arrive in Miami. Leotis Martin would end up fighting Sonny Liston some years later, but in 1964, Martin was not much more than Sonny's sparring partner, and Sonny was having his way with Martin and a variety of additional young heavyweights.
This is Sonny Liston, the heavyweight champion of the world, and reputed to be the hardest hitter in the heavyweight division since Joe Louis. Sonny, I just watched you work out for about an hour, and you look like you're ready to fight giants. How do you feel?
Feel very good.
Well, how much road work have you been doing?
I've been doing 6 miles.
6 miles a day?
Yeah.
You think that's enough?
Well, I'm only trying to catch him, not to set in a track record.
I see. Well, now, some of the things that Cassius Clay has been saying, for example, yesterday he said when Liston fights Cassius the Great, everyone will compliment him for falling in 8. Do you have anything to say about that?
The only thing I can say, don't get your tickets late. If they're waiting on, it's only in the first round, they might miss it.
Well, do you think it'll end in 2?
Well, you can bet your life it ain't going 4.
I'd like to get your opinion, Sonny, on what you feel Cassius Clay has as far as the area of ability. How would you compare Cassius to, say, Cleveland Williams?
Well, I can't compare him yet. I never have fought Clay yet, but I could say if talking was a fight, he done won this one. Ain't no use of me going in.
I see. Well, and in other words, you can't compare his ability. Could you compare what you've seen on film to, say, Eddie Machen's boxing?
Well, I would say that he was the type of fighter that Eddie Machen is.
I see. You mean as far as his boxing goes?
Yes.
Do you think you're going to chase him all over the ring, or do you think he's going to stand there and fight?
No, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to have to chase him a little bit, but at the meantime, I done got, I think, a little smarter than I was when I fought Machen.
Well, Cassius Clay said that you were 45 years old and that you don't belong in the same ring with him.
I imagine I don't, because I'm just that much better than he is.
Well, tell me, are you surprised at the odds of 3.5 to 1? Most of the experts felt that the odds when they came out, they'd be favored Liston 8 to 1, 9 to 1, but apparently Clay and some of the things he's been saying have brought the odds down to 3.5 to 1. Were you surprised at those odds?
No, I wasn't. I was looking for the odds to be 10 to nothing that he don't show up. Joe?
Hello, Joe Louis. How are you?
How are you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Louis, former heavyweight champion of the world and reputed to be one of the finest fighters in the history of the division. Joe, you've seen Cassius Clay fight?
Yes, I have. I've seen him box in California and saw him box once in New York.
And you've seen Sonny Liston
I
fight?
have saw him box also.
May I get your opinion on what might happen in the night of the contest?
Well, I think it should be a good fight. I don't think that the people would see a bad fight because, as you know, Clay is a good boxer. Liston is a good puncher. I always like to stalk his man all the time, so I think it was an excellent fight.
Well, do you think that Clay will employ the tactics that he has with other fighters? In other words, he stabs and runs and he waits until...
I think they would see a type of fight from Clay.
This is your buddy, and he's called the shot that way. His opinion doesn't necessarily coincide with yours. What do you feel about that?
Well, just like he used to say, he can run, but he can't hide.
Well, do you think Clay is going to do a little running?
Yes, I look for him to run.
Sonny, you've been quoted as saying that Cleveland Williams hit you harder than any other fighter that you fought. Is that true?
Well, I would say I think so.
My mother's family, they were Clays, the same name as Cassius. When the American Negro came here as slaves, they took the names of the families. Our families freed, way back there, we freed the slaves in our families, but I'm sure that Cassius's probably great-grandparents and some of my relatives, they were probably the owners of Cassius's great-grandparents.
In January of 1964, the media started to release stories on Clay's affiliation with the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X was popular, and the media was painting Malcolm X rather than Elijah Muhammad as the face of the NOI. There was some infighting going on in the NOI, and in December of 1963, Malcolm X had some words regarding the recent assassination of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Even though Malcolm X had been silenced and was given directives to cool off and embrace a lower profile, he showed up in Miami to support Clay and was spending some time around Clay's training camp. According to the media, Clay had paid for Malcolm's trip to Miami. It was around that time in January of 1964 that Clay also started telling the media that he was training around black people in Miami and that Liston had a team of white people with him over in Las Vegas. When asked, Clay refused to tell the media if he was now a member of the NOI. Clay blamed the media for criticizing him just because he preferred to be around black people. He told the media that he is a man that had never been incarcerated, and yet white people wanted to paint him out to be a worse criminal than Sonny Liston, who had been incarcerated multiple times. Clay pointed out that Liston had a lengthy criminal record that had involved violence, and yet his only crime was that he wanted to be in the company of his own people. Malcolm X was also being blamed for Clay breaking training camp and traveling to New York to speak at a rally organized by the Nation of Islam. Angelo Dundee was not told Clay would be breaking camp. This seemed to be a bigger issue to the media than it was for Angelo Dundee himself. Dundee was always quick to remind the media that he was just a working man and he had no say in regards to Clay's decision making. Malcolm X did not have much to say as he had been silenced by Elijah Muhammad. However, Clay spoke to the media about how much of an honor it was to have Malcolm X in camp. But Clay was mostly focused on the world heavyweight champion Sonny Liston. The early odds for the fight was 3.5 to 1 in favor of Sonny Liston. January 17th. The big news in the heavyweight division was Zora Foley upsetting George Chuvalo. The winner of this fight was inked to be next in line for a shot at the heavyweight champion Sonny Liston. Earlier that day, Liston had addressed the media about Clay's upcoming birthday. Liston told the media that there would be a birthday party for Clay at Liston's Las Vegas training camp. He said that he would wait until the scheduled fight date of February 25th to give Clay his gift. Clay would take the 17th off to meet with the media and celebrate his birthday.
I wish for this time next year, I'll be worth $5 million. Say that, you know good and well this is me standing up.
This one here.
See how ugly the one is laying down?
Cassius, what did you wish for on your birthday? A teddy bear or a quick passport out of the country? Have you any secret wish that you made on this Auspicious occasion here?
I wish that after I annihilate Sonny Liston, he will retire.
You know,
Because most fighters, after you beat them, they want to rematch. This fight. This is going to be the easiest fight of my life. That bomb is too slow to hit me.
And if he does hit you, he's going to catch up with you eventually.
Impossible. I'm the fastest heavyweight alive.
Then you are going to run.
Run for what? I'm fast with my hands. I hit a man so fast, slow motion cameras can't detect the speed.
Do you really think that if you hit him a good shot, he's going to go down?
If he don't go down, I'm going to run. Then I will run.
On January 24th, articles would surface around the country questioning this fight's place in box office history. Where would this fight be placed in a list of top box office fights that included Jack Dempsey, Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis, and Floyd Patterson? There was no doubt about it, there was a lot of hype surrounding this fight, especially with fight fans taking interest in a new, unique form of trash talk coming from Cassius Clay. January 24th was also the day Clay met with the Selective Service. Clay was followed by the media to take his examination. The day before Clay arrived, he promised that he was going to stay focused on the examination. On the morning of January 24th, Clay arrived and there was nearly 100 additional young men there for testing. At that time, Clay decided to put on a show. He told the media and other observers that the Army had not received so much attention since Elvis Presley joined the Army some 6 years earlier. Clay told observers that Liston was rejected by the Army because he was too ugly to serve. After taking the exam, Clay was told that the results would be mailed back to Louisville. He was told that he could be waiting up to a month to receive the results. January 25th, 1964. Cassius Clay had some comments regarding the recent assassination of John F. Kennedy. His words was not as harsh as the words coming from Malcolm X, but Clay questioned how the killer of JFK could be found and gunned down so quickly, yet it seems to be a difficult task finding those that murder black children. He was still being asked about his affiliation with the Nation of Islam. When asked this question, Clay would answer with questions regarding what he felt was unfair treatment towards black people in America. Other news that surfaced on the 25th had to do with Clay taking on and embracing a villain role and how taking that stance was leading to an increase in Sonny Liston's popularity. Clay added that Liston was now loved only because Liston was fighting him. According to Clay, it was him that was the savior of the boxing world. Liston reported to the media from Vegas and told them that Clay was the first opponent he would be facing that he had a grudge against. According to Liston, Clay had been running his mouth about subject matter that was no business of his. January 27th, heavyweight champion of the world Sonny Liston has finally left Vegas and arrived in Miami to complete his training. The main reason Liston had stayed away from Miami was to avoid Clay and Clay's crazy pull-ups. Over the past few months, Clay had pulled up on Liston a few times, even pulling up at Liston's home. Liston also tried to attack Clay and was held back. There was some that said Sonny was in shape, but there were also some rumors going around that Liston spent most of his time gambling and having a good time in Vegas. But being in Miami nearly a month before the fight, Liston would expect to receive a visit from Clay before week's end. At the time Liston arrived in Miami, he weighed 221 pounds, but said he would shed a few more pounds before fight night. Former heavyweight champion of the world Joe Louis had been working with Sonny on how to clean up his image and how to be presentable to the press. Liston needed to focus on training, but it wasn't even a week that passed and Liston was already in front of Clay, going back and forth with him. Clay showed up at Liston's camp taunting Liston as Liston sparred. Clay remained training at the 5th Street Gym while Sonny Liston trained at Surfside. Clay showed up at the gym in Surfside and raised hell.
Champ of the world should be pretty like me. Champ of the world. Champ of the world. I'm the champ. Get your ass I'm a champ. I'm the real champ. Hey, where's he at? Where's he at? I'm the king of the ring. I'm the biggest thing in history. All because of me. I'm the king. say, chump?
I don't want to wait around all night for you to come to kiss my feet.
What'd he say? Oh, man, I told you what I'm going to do. You haven't told me yet what you're going to do. Are you going to do that to me if I whoop you?
Listen, you talking about the Stein partner was knocking me around and this and that. You know why that was, don't you?
Going back out of it, didn't you? You all are the witnesses. You heard him, he backed down, didn't he? He won't say he's going to do that to me if I whoop him, will he? But I told him I'd do it, but he wouldn't do it, would he? That shows he's scared. He's just driving.
Kiss my feet.
What you say, Charles?
Cassius.
Yeah.
If you last to the third round, I'm gonna kiss your feet. And if I knock you out in the fourth, I'm still gonna kiss your feet. Okay. Now, well, look. What you gonna do? I'm a better bargain than you.
What you gonna do? Kiss my feet at the beginning of the fourth round? I'll wait till the fight's over.
Well, I better kiss it before the first round because I ain't gonna be around that long.
Oh man, you jiving! I told you. Why don't you put yourself on a limb like me? That's why you should be thankful. I'd have made you great. I'd have made you one of the world's most famous fighters, man. Didn't nobody care nothing about you until I came along. People love you now. Now you got some fans. Why don't you come on out and say something?
Listen, if you set up...
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
You might be young and handsome, but you won't be after I finish with you.
If you like to lose your money, be a fool and bet on Sonny.
I'm pretty sure people's not a fool to bet on you. They have to be a fool and bet on me.
You're 40 years old if a day, and you don't belong in the ring with Cassius Clay.
No, I shouldn't, because it'd be a disgrace to see let the people see me kill you like I am.
The odds should be 3.5 to 1 that you won't show up for the fight.
The odds should be 10 to nothing that you don't last for the first round.
I don't know who, but I think somebody won't win the fight.
Float like a butterfly jam.
With Liston now in Miami, the rest of February would be filled with interesting back and forths as well as exclusive media coverage. The odds in early February had Liston now a 6 to 1 favorite. Clay urged fight fans to bet their money on him. There was a lot of information coming out on both fighters' workouts as both fighters held open workouts, but it did not keep Clay from sending over a few spies to Liston's camp. Liston's sparring partner, Leotis Martin, was back in camp, and again Liston would punish Martin in front of ringside observers. The sparring sessions would stick with Martin for years and prepare him for future heavyweight fights, including a future heavyweight clash with Liston that would take place some years later. Most fight fans appeared to favor Liston, but Clay's trash talk was drawing a great deal of interest from fight fans, experts, and fellow fighters around the country, as well as on a global level.
You want to win a fight? Yeah. Wait. What? Sonny, I don't think you know what you're talking about. You don't know what to think about. Liston has never proved that he could go 15 rounds. What are you talking about? You're out of your mind. You say, Liston has never fought nobody? But who did this guy ever
Mike DeJong got knocked down while he's on the floor. He's counting himself out. He put the referee's his hand and counted himself out.
Give me a chance. Who did this guy ever fight?
Peter Cooper. I mean, what's
Peter
your name?
Cooper. You could lick Peter
What's the
Cooper.
difference?
He'll freeze up when he gets in that ring, I'll guarantee you that.
What makes you so sure?
But I've been a fighter. I fought them all.
Who'd you fight there, King?
Max Barrett, Joe Louis, Jack Dempsey,
Yeah?
Mickey Walker, Ace Atkins, and Kinnear.
And you think that, from your experience...
When I fought Joe Louis, I froze up. Joe Louis knocked me out and put me in the tie business.
No kidding.
That's right.
Can you hold that for a moment?
And you think Cassius is going to be selling
Yeah, he'll be my partner.
Oh, I don't know.
I think Joe Louis is a great fighter. Listen, it's too powerful. And I'm not going to the second round. I can't be scared of death.
Yeah, I think Liston is the greatest heavyweight ever lived.
Oh, you think he's better than anybody?
Better than anybody. In Joe Louis' time, I believe Liston could beat him.
Tell me, show me how Liston throws a left. Towards the camera. Towards the camera. Straight.
That's right.
His left. And how does he hook off the jab? And he hooks off the jab. How's that? And he can do that in a lightning shot.
Yes, you can.
And how about Clay? How does he throw his left?
That Clay likes to forward and forward and forward and move back and jab and then hook. So when he makes this statement, Liston, it will be over.
And you think that's the end of the fight?
That's all.
Hear about your fight and what you did to Liston.
Which one?
Well, the one where you knocked him on the ground, right?
Oh, the one where I knocked him
You didn't
down?
knock
That was
him
the
out,
second
you
fight.
said.
No,
No,
that was the second fight.
Yes.
Well, in that fight, I couldn't get warmed up. So I says in the fourth round, I got to try a little harder this round. So I goes in, I ducks under his left jab and pumps it right to the body. He drops his arms and I hooked him to the head. And he went down.
Well, was that the finish of the fight?
No. I made him mad then.
Oh, yes?
He got up and killed me the next 2 rounds.
Give him the evil eye this way. It's known as the Slabutka stare. Then I give him the zinger and the whammy. When I give him the double whammy in the corner, that's it, the knockout. That's how I defeated Billy Kahn, Max Baer, and some of the greatest fighters in the world, including the German army.
German army?
When I was in France.
And he's absolutely gorgeous.
Liston will kill him. He'll kill him in the first round.
It'll be Liston in 3 rounds. Liston about 4. Liston by 2.
Liston in 3. One Liston. One Liston. Second round Liston. Liston in 4.
Oh, like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You got too much mouth, Clay. Just don't go away.
Well, I am for Liston. Cassius Clay. What you say about Cassius Clay? Nothing but mouth. Clay is nothing but mouth. You know what? Before Clay can eat more than mouth. Look, we're going to have one here, one there. You know what we're going to have? Clay going to wind up down there.
Right.
No, right.
If the price is right, Cassius Clay will win the fight.
I think I should ever say if the price is right, I believe Q will win the fight.
He gonna win on the counter because my boy can't go in New York City against Wall Street, and Wall Street the best of everything.
I like Clay's style. Yeah. I like that old 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. And let's get together and get some of that old wide.
Yes, sir.
I agree.
Going into February, the media continued to ask Clay if he was now with the Nation of Islam. Clay continued to beat around the bush, but on February 7th, the media decided to ask Clay's father. According to Clay's father, Clay had now been with the NOI since 1960. He told the media that somebody needs to run the NOI out of the country and that they had brainwashed Clay and his brother. He even accused the NOI of attempting to brainwash Clay into hating his own parents. According to Clay's father, all the NOI was interested in was money. He said that all of them are brainwashed by one man, and in their minds, Elijah Muhammad can do no wrong. Clay's father said that Elijah Muhammad was an expert in brainwashing the ignorant. He also told the media that Clay was told by Elijah Muhammad that going to jail was a better option than serving his country. After speaking with Clay's father, the media followed up with Clay. Clay was smart enough not to badmouth his father and had limited input following his father's comments. Clay's parents were the only two people granted a pass by Clay when criticizing the NOI. According to Liston's manager, if all the NOI wanted from Clay was money, they better get their money fast, as Clay would not be receiving any more big paydays after the Liston fight. According to rumor, Clay's father had to be restrained during a heated argument with Malcolm X. Clay's father was said to have made several physical threats towards both Malcolm X and his two sons. According to Clay's father, Malcolm X, as well as Elijah Muhammad, had brainwashed Clay. He said that Clay had put a great deal of money into Malcolm's pockets and that Clay did everything Malcolm said short of kissing Malcolm's feet. Clay's father claimed to even recently move out of the house Clay had bought for his mother and claimed that he and Clay's mother had been threatened by some members of the NOI. Clay had also asked his parents to go home on more than one occasion when they was at his camp. Clay denied that he was part of the NOI. Another person that was placed under pressure by the media was Clay's trainer and manager, Angelo Dundee. Dundee's approach was different. He backed up Clay and said that he does not believe Clay has joined. Maybe the best thing for Dundee to do was to limit his talk on such subject matter, and that's exactly what Dundee did, informing the media that he was around Clay for boxing and business and had no influence or say on Clay's personal life. Dundee did not appear to like involving himself in race talk and had told the media multiple times that he was just a working man. Boxing business would continue as fighters got closer to the date. Sonny Liston did what he could do to avoid contact with Cassius Clay in Miami. He participated in the mandatory events such as the glove inspection. Both Liston and Clay let the qualified participants argue over the procedural events that occur before a fight.
The mandatory 8 count will be in effect. If a fighter is knocked down at the time of the bell, the count will continue except in the last round. The 3 knockdown rule has been waived. Why? Because of that? I don't think so.
This is a better. Oh, well, he's never knocked off his big plate.
It's only the first time. Huh?
Carry on.
It's only the first time. Suppose I object to it. A referee, you have your judge. I have the right. That's right. Licensed referees, right? They're all honest, isn't that right?
That's right.
You're going to name the referee 10 minutes before the fight, right?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Are you going to name me 30 minutes before the fight? Is that right? Well, then I should have a right to object up until the time. You'll have them all there, won't you? You're going to have 5 of them there? Why should I give you 2 days
Mr.
notice?
Klein, he keeps saying 1 round knockout. What's he worried about?
Why should I give you 2 days
He's gonna
notice?
knock him out in 1
I have a
round.
right up until the time. Because I'm talking.
We gave you this a week ago. We talked about it and said to you, you check these fellas out. What you don't like, you have a privilege.
But I don't think I should have to
But
tip
you're
my
not going to
hand
tell
now.
us 10 minutes before the
I don't
fight.
think I should have to tip my
Because
hand.
we're not going to tip our bits to you.
I know. Why should I tip mine for you?
Well, you don't have.
We do that as a matter of form, and you know it, Mr. Nylon, to avoid the possibility of gambling in any form, shape, or manner.
And that's what I'm interested in.
We don't name our officials until the very last moment.
And I think a half hour is too damn early. I'd say 10 minutes.
Mr. Nylon, I just want to tell you this, that I have been on this commission for 22 years, and I have judged over 700 fights. Follow me?
The best judge we ever had.
Now, get it? And I tell you now, you will not know who the officials are until a couple of minutes before fight time. But by that same token, you're not going to tell me that night that you object to one fellow.
Well, why not? Why? What's wrong? If he's so sure his guy's going to knock out my guy in 1 round, why is he so particular about the officials all of a sudden? Why? 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 How could you stand there and ask me that?
The shame has nothing to do with the matter.
Well, they should just beat you on a 3 knockdown rule. I'd have beat you on nothing.
Oh,
You got a 1 round knockout. Never been knocked off his feet. You got a yo-yo. You're putting there with it. Your guy will be like a yo-yo. Huh? Your guy will be like a yo-yo. Really? We'll find out. This will be a first. Hands up. Get yourself a net and catch it.
Corners of the trigger. 1 inch. Watch this. What you gonna do? One more time. Watch this.
February 15th. Training camps were still open for select media. Clay and Liston would not only hold open sparring, but they would also hit the heavy and speed bags. There was a big request coming from the media for Clay to work the speed bag, and on the bags, Clay looked more impressive than Liston, displaying blazing speed. Even though Clay was the challenger, the media appeared to be more interested in Clay's training. He did everything more flashy than Liston did. That included hitting the bags, jumping rope, talking trash. Cassius Clay had more of a hyped up training camp than a more calmed down Liston, who was not the most media friendly guy out there. Of course, Clay had the bigger mouth and would feed the media with his unique style of trash talk and the addition of poetry as well as predictions.
Well, if your hands start to clapping and your fingers start to popping and your feet start to moving around, and if you start to swing and sway when a band starts to play a real cool and way out sound, and if you get the can't help it then you can't sit down, you feel like you gotta move around. Need a shot of rhythm and blues. With just a little rock and roll on the side, just for good measure. Need a pair of dancing shoes. With your lover by your side, then you know you're gonna have a lot of pleasure. Don't you worry about a thing. If you start to dance and sing, and chill bumps come up on you. And when that rhythm finally hits you, and the beat gets you too, well, here's the thing for you to do. By your side, then you know you're gonna have a lot of pleasure. Don't you worry about a thing. If you start to dance and sing, and chill bumps come up on you. And when that rhythm finally hits you, and the beat gets you too, well, here's the thing for you to do. Get a shot of rhythm and blues. With just a little rock and roll on the side, just for good measure. Get a pair of dancing shoes. With your lover by your side, then you
The best sparring partner he had, if you remember, was Amos Lincoln.
On February 18th, there was a popular group from the UK that were making their American debut. The group was called the Beatles. This was the first American tour coming from the Beatles. In day 11 of their first American tour, the Beatles would visit Miami, Florida. The Beatles was big fans of Sonny Liston, who surprisingly would be featured on a future Beatles album cover. It was surprising, especially after the way Liston handled the Beatles in February of 1964. When the Beatles arrived in Miami, Sonny Liston was asked to do a photo shoot with the Beatles. Sonny Liston watched the Beatles debut on the Ed Sullivan Show with Joe Louis on February the 9th. Liston told the media that he would not be seen with those little skinny punks. Sonny would ask Joe Louis, "Are these motherfuckers or what all these people are screaming about? My dog plays drums better than that kid with the big nose." Liston was trying to clean up his image, but believed the Beatles looked too soft to be pictured with him. Word got back to the Beatles that Sonny did not want to be pictured with them, and they decided to hell with it. Since he doesn't want to take a few photos with us, maybe his opponent would. The Beatles had heard of the loudmouth fighter that had traveled to the UK 8 months earlier and defeated Henry Cooper. Clay was not very nice to the UK people during his first visit there in the summer of 1963.
Here with me, with his bodyguard, is Mr. Cassius Clay.
How you doing, Mr. Lewis?
How do you do? Mr. Clay, this is a wonderful name of yours. Was your mother or your father ever interested in the arts or literature?
Well, my father, he's an artist. He's best in Louisville, Kentucky.
Because your brother is named Rudolph Valentino.
That's right.
Your father liked William Shakespeare, I presume, did he?
Well, he read a little about him, but he really wasn't a Shakespeare fan.
Have you studied art yourself?
Well, I can draw a little, but I'm mostly concentrating on fighting. I'm busy knocking out all of these bums. I don't have time to draw.
You're a bit of an actor as well, aren't you, Mr. Clay?
Well, I'm not only an actor. A lot of people think I'm acting, but if they be at that Wembley Stadium June 18th, they'll see that I mean every word I say.
And what are your impressions of this little country of ours?
Well, Great Britain is a nice place, but I'm from America and I'm not used to it. The cars are too small, the streets are too narrow. I like open spaces, and I haven't seen as many pretty girls like I do at home.
Are you terribly homesick there?
I can't wait to get out. And a lot of these people are booing me and making remarks at me on the street, and that's just going to make it hard on Henry Cooper.
Well, are you going to finish Henry Cooper so quickly as you said?
Cooper will fall in 5, and not only Henry Cooper, I have a middleweight back here by the name of James Ellis. Your man will fall, right?
Right.
And Don Warner, he's fighting Jim Cooper's brother, and he's going to fall. All of them are going to fall.
Right.
What happens if Cooper happens to fall in 4, Mr. Clay?
Cooper will not fall in 4. Cooper will fall in 5.
You won't hold him up to keep him going till the 5th round?
Well, I'm predicting the 5th round. I'm not predicting 4. If he falls in 1, he just fall in 1. If he falls in 2, too bad. But I'm predicting round 5.
What is your impression of British heavyweights as a whole?
Well, I haven't heard too much about British heavyweights. I noticed he's the British Empire heavyweight champion, but he's not the champion in America. He's just a champion over here among the rest of these so-called fighters. But if he comes to America, he's going to get run out.
Unlike Liston, Clay had never heard of the Beatles. Clay's preference in music was Sam Cooke and like artists. When the Beatles showed up to the 5th Street Gym, they was told Clay was not there. The Beatles were then pushed into a room and locked in the room. At that time, the Beatles did not know what was going on and thought they had been abducted. Then, all of a sudden, Clay entered the room. The high energy Clay said, "Come on, Beatles, let's go make some money." Clay would not only complete a photo shoot with the Beatles, he would spice up the shoot with playful trash talk, and the Beatles would warm up to Clay instantly. "When Liston reads about the Beatles visiting me, he'll be so mad I'll knock him out in 3. The meeting, it just happened all of a sudden, and none of this was planned. After the Beatles left, Clay would turn to a media man and ask him, who were those little sissies? Let's not forget that this was the Beatles' first visit to America, and everybody did not yet know who the Beatles was. Their popularity would grow a little bit later. The Beatles were around the same age as Clay. In fact, Clay at 22 fit right in the middle of the Beatles' age range, as all of the Beatles were in their early 20s. The Beatles got along well with Clay, and maybe Clay ended up being a better option, as Liston may not have been as playful if he did agree to meet with them.
The accent was the only thing, that was the only difference. Lovely.
Did they reckon one of the things you did was visit Clay? One of the things you did was visit Cassius Clay.
It was a big lad.
Who's going to win? Clay Liston.
Ringo. I'll win him. Well, it all depends, you see. If you go to his gym, you have to say he wins. And if you go to Liston's gym, you say Liston will win. Yeah. The big lad Jim will win. Big Liston will win, but Cassius Clay is a good singer.
He's a good singer?
He told us, he's Chubby Checker's cousin. He made up a poem as well.
February 20th, less than a week before the fight, there were some reports coming out of the 5th Street Gym. A sparring partner named Cody Jones was inked to have gotten the best of Clay in a sparring session. Clay was now being reported to be a 7-1 underdog, and one of the reasons was because Cody Jones was reported to have got the best of Clay in this sparring session. There was even a rumor that he knocked Clay out cold with a left hook. Reports varied, but there must have been some truth to Cody Jones doing more than holding his own facing Clay in sparring. By the 21st of February, both Liston and Clay had placed their hardest work behind them. Both fighters were still talking to the media. Liston admitted that Clay was irritating, but said that Clay's behavior does not get under his skin. He said that Clay was his $1 million baby and that he could never be mad at Clay, as Clay was making him rich. On February the 21st, the media spoke to past fighters, and the most popular former fighter picking Clay was Jersey Joe Walcott. According to Walcott, Clay was not only the faster fighter, but Clay was also winning the mental battle going into the fight. Walcott said that all Clay had to do was get through the first 6 rounds. Walcott himself was a 6-1 underdog when he defeated Ezra Charles for the title 13 years earlier. He said that a fighter should never be a 6, 7, or 8-1 underdog when 2 fighters face off and they're both at top level. Former heavyweight champions James J. Braddock, who was also a huge underdog around 25 years earlier, would back up what Walcott said, but still appeared to be leaning more towards Liston to win the fight. Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney, Rocky Marciano, and Joe Louis favored Liston. Throughout the days before the fight, Clay shared his plan with the media. His plan was to stick and move, hit and not be hit, and then take Liston out in the 8th round. The fight would also be featured satellite in select locations around the world, and the fighters were being reported to be making anywhere between $600,000 and over $1 million. Many articles estimated that Liston could make as much as $1.3 million when it's all said and done. When utilizing an inflation calculator, $1.3 million in 1964 would be around $10 million today. Clay would receive just over $600,000, which would be close to $6 million in 2023. So both fighters would receive big purses for that time period. On February the 22nd, Clay held one more light sparring session. Joe Louis showed up and was not impressed. Louis said that Liston would destroy Clay if Clay keeps pulling back from punches and making mistakes. Clay's parents had just arrived after being sent home from Clay. He had his parents join him in one of the final pressers. They appeared to be back on good terms after some disagreements regarding the Nation of Islam. There was also some reports that painted Liston and Clay to be from two different worlds. Liston was inked to be the son of an Arkansas cotton picker that had 25 children. The family would move to St. Louis, and Liston became a product of the streets. Liston would spend years breaking the law and spent a great deal of his young life incarcerated. Liston never finished school and could not read or write. Clay was from what was considered by the media to be a middle-class black family. Cassius Clay was inked to have a backing from 11 wealthy white men. Liston's backing came from the underworld. In the 1940s, Liston went on a crime spree that included robberies, muggings, and even home invasions. The crime spree, it continued into the 1950s. Liston would be sentenced to serve 5 years in prison. Liston was a complete badass behind bars, and word got back to the mob on this kid that brought fear to fellow inmates. Eventually, he joined the prison boxing program. When he was released from incarceration, the mob was waiting on him and took a young Liston under their wing. Liston became an enforcer and debt collector for the mob. He was rumored to be a ruthless debt collector and was said to be an expert in extracting money out of people. Liston was not only a man that would punish others, he would continue to commit crimes, and some said that Liston was the last man to look into the eyes of several victims. Liston was not a man that would brag about his life as a criminal with made-up exaggerated stories of being a thug and a hoodlum. Liston's past life was as real as it gets. If it wasn't for boxing, Liston would have perhaps been murdered or incarcerated for the rest of his life. The only reason Liston was able to commit so many crimes and still be breathing in 1964 was because of his affiliation with the underworld. Liston was capable of violating anyone, no matter their color or status. He was not a very friendly man and could find a weakness in any man on his street level. He even victimized law enforcement. The mobsters that backed Liston were feared, and Liston was said to be their golden boy. Liston referred to Clay as his golden boy, meaning that this was a man that could make him money. Liston's new image appeared to be forced. Joe Louis was brought in to assist Liston in cleaning up his act, but the main reason Louis was brought in was to help Liston appeal to white people. According to some members of the NOI was a group of black men that did not fear Liston and viewed Liston as a lost brother that had been brainwashed by white people. They did, however, respect Liston and stayed away from words such as Uncle Tom when referring to Liston. This kind of talk was reserved more for guys like Floyd Patterson. Liston's behaviors was unpredictable, and that kind of talk could cost Clay the title fight. Floyd Patterson was indeed a better candidate to paste as a whitewashed sellout, and that's who Clay and his brothers in the NOI chose to use as an example to paint that picture. And by this point, they had already placed Patterson in that category. Even though Liston had been spending a lot of his free time visiting penitentiaries, Clay accused Liston of spending more time with white people than his own people. This was not the last time Clay would use this tactic to gain a mental edge. Clay would only brush the surface with Liston compared to his utilization of this subject matter in years to come. The media would place these kinds of articles in the paper throughout the building of this big fight. There was no doubt about it that Liston was from the tougher background, as the two were from complete different worlds. Some of the writers in this time period were surprised that it was Clay and not Liston that was affiliated with the NOI, as Liston was from the streets and in their mind was more suited for the affiliation. Some tried to guilt Clay, but attempting to guilt Clay was ineffective, as Clay was receiving first-hand knowledge from Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself, as well as others, on how to deal with those that would attempt to guilt him. And he was also receiving first-hand training on identifying and dealing with divide and conquer tactics. Many of the experts thought that Clay was a lot of talk and felt Liston was going to make quick work of Clay. February 25th, 1964, the morning of the fight, the weigh-in would take place. Clay would weigh 210 pounds. The champion Liston would weigh in at 218 pounds. Clay would show out at the weigh-in. Most of the present media thought that Clay's antics had more to do with him being afraid of Liston. According to Clay, it was Liston who was afraid. Liston was a heavy favorite and was expected to make quick work of Clay once again. Many writers did not believe Clay would make it out of the first round. Clay was fined $2,500 for his outburst at the weigh-in. Clay's pulse was extremely high, confirming the odds in many of the experts and fight fans' minds. Clay arrived with the legendary fighter Sugar Ray Robinson. Even though Ray Robinson was never a heavyweight, Clay made comparisons between Sugar Ray and Joe Louis, as Joe Louis had been working with Liston. Ray Robinson seemed to be enjoying the event, constantly laughing throughout the weigh-in, and at times tried to calm Clay down. Showings of the first fight would be canceled in a few southern theaters because the heavyweight champion Sonny Liston was opposed to the fight being featured in theaters that enforced segregated seating. Clay did not care, as he supported segregation. Clay made sure to pay homage to wrestler Gorgeous George, who had recently passed away 2 months earlier. He gave George credit as the inspiration behind some of his trash-talking ways, and on the day of the fight, he again brought up the wrestler's name. Also, Marty Marshall had arrived in Miami. Who was Marty Marshall? The only fighter to have ever defeated Sonny Liston. Liston had twice defeated Marshall since the split decision result that came in their first bout. According to Marshall, Liston was one hell of a fighter, but could be defeated again. He said that going toe-to-toe with Liston would be the wrong approach and that Liston would have to be outboxed. Another guy who constantly said this was the legendary trainer Customato. He tried to tell Patterson in the first two fights, do not stay in front of Sonny Liston. You have to stick and move and outbox Liston.
It's the morning of February 25th, the day of the big fight. Now we'll see the craziest weigh-in in all boxing history. Over 400 people were present, including every prominent boxing writer from 17 countries and representatives of the major television and radio networks. But not one could believe his eyes or ears, as Clay's conduct, to quote many of those present, defied description. Even as Liston's weight was being announced at 218 pounds, Clay was still making his presence verbally, if not painfully evident, to the relatively few boxing writers who picked him to win.
I'm ready to rumble. I can't be beat. I'm the champ.
The champion, seemingly oblivious to the remarks calculated to make him angry, calmly attempts to neutralize the challenger's screaming by a simple raising of two fingers, indicating to the press the number of rounds he intends to allow Clay to function from a standing position. As Clay's weight of 210.5 pounds was being announced, Cassius was simultaneously announcing to Liston all of the terrible things that were going to happen to the champion that evening in the ring. After listening to Clay screaming for better than half an hour, the commissioned doctor, as well as many people present, thought Clay's performance was the result of his being terrified at the thought that he would actually face Liston this night. Just prior to the fight, Clay predicts Liston will fall in 8. However, Liston says round 2 will be the finale.
Let us see this. You ain't got a chance. Let us see. Let us see. Ain't nowhere you Hey, can you let us see this? You whoop. Hey, trim him, bang. Come on, dance. Hey, let us see him. Let us see him. You ain't nothing. You ain't nothing. Back it up. Play over. 218 pounds. Sonny, put your weight on, please. Hey, get back. Hey, stop that. Hey, Doc, get out of the way of the scale for a minute, will ya? At least get the damn thing away so he gets the picture. Get over here on the side. Jack, are you ready to second place? Please fine, $2,500.
To the hills, I'm making. Right in the bus all the way to New York. They laughed at our painted bus. All across the country they laughed at us. They called us the
Right Cash.
That's all we had. Champion's a bone not made.
I went in the ring with the lip on my robe.
That's what he had. The lady that sold it in there is happy. All the poor peoples is happy. Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Hey! Rubber, young man, rubber! Hey!
The talking was over. The evening had finally arrived. The undercard featured 4 heavyweight fights and 1 light heavyweight fight. Fighters such as Bob Foster and Liston's sparring partner Leotis Martin would win their fights. The main event was finally here.
15 rounds, 2 more bouts will follow.
I want a clean bout, men. In the event of a knockdown, a man that is down must take an 8 count. Man standing up will go to a neutral corner while I start counting. And do not resume boxing until I tell you to do so. Now I want a clean bout. When they order you to break, stop punching and step back. Good luck. Shake hands.
Cassius Clay on the move as we see, looking to get Sonny to lunge, carrying his left hand dangerously low. Note that the champion, Liston, the aggressive man, a good heavy shot dug under the heart. Sonny has to set the pace. That's the way it looks at the outset. Cassius, awkwardly fast. Good long left lead that might keep the champion a bit off balance. Very slippery. Clay still in the danger zone in that he's keeping his hands low, but you'll notice one thing if you don't mind. He's at long range with the hands low. We're halfway through round 1. Slip those left leads. Can't do it too successfully because The challenger is jabbing all over. Body, head, and right hand. The best punch of the fight so far. Champion Joe Louis. Going, look at the guy yawning. Tell us what you think at the end of one.
Well, Steve, I think this was the greatest round of any fight we've seen in a long time, because I think Clay completely outclassed Sonny Liston in this round.
It's confusing for the champion to fathom this early in the fight. At least. He wants to use it as a left lead, a lead to other shots if he can get this kid to stand still and then rip the body. Another jarring right hand that time, folks. Another one. Sonny wobbled. Sonny wobbled. Cassius has him hurt. Sonny is talking to... Sonny has a big mouth below his left eye. He has a cut below the eye, and he's getting hit with all the punches in the book. Sonny, still aggressive, very durable. Whether you can see it, look closely, look hard. They're working on the cut below the left eye. It's very difficult to get a shot, but what do you think Sonny's condition, as Joe Polino works on the cut, would be right now? I'd like to point out the champion is strong, durable, takes the good shot. However, he is being outmaneuvered at most points because this fella has that awkwardly fast style of going side to side, moving the upper part of his body. Less than a minute to go in this fourth round. Ooh! The Liston hook started out as a jab, turned it short to a good hook. Now we've had 4 fast rounds. What do you think is going through this youngster's mind? He's 12 minutes into the fight.
Well, he's talking a lot now. I don't know who he looks like. He's arguing with his trainers. You know, but I don't know. Clay, I think he's getting more confident as the fight go along.
Getting more confident?
I think so. As long as the fight goes, more confident he would be.
That's Angelo Dundee that he was arguing with, Joe. Angelo now is telling him off a little bit while he gets him ready. Is the fella surprising you? Is Sonny surprising you?
I think that Clay is surprising the whole world of going along with Sonny. And not only he's showing such being a good fight.
Thank you, champ. Getting ready for number 5.
Something wrong with Clay now. something wrong with Clay. Something wrong with Clay.
I see that, Joe. His eyes are bothering him. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know exactly what happened. They're yelling from Cassius Clay's corner. Something got in his right eye. However, he's blinking badly. Sonny's going to try to pull it on. Problems with his eyes. He's blinking and he's bouncing away continually. Minute 30 seconds to go in the fifth. Sonny fired his best left hook so far. In round 6, we note that Sonny, flat-footed stance most of the time. Easy target. Easy. Play with a variety of punches. We call them combinations. Putting punches together. That's his strong point. We're in the middle of round number 6. Cassius Clay still with the faster hands and the better legs, or at least the faster legs. I'll correct myself on that one. Sonny does have sturdy legs. Only 30 seconds to go in the 6th round. Sonny can't seem to slip or knock down that jab effectively. Cassius throws it from all angles. Very tricky left lead, left jab. Seconds remaining in the 6th. Now they're working, as we note, with our camera shots in there, below the left eye. They've already worked below the right eye. There you see them. Joe Polino trying to keep that cut closed. Do you feel as though Sonny being busted up a little bit, puffed up a little bit around the face, will this make a difference in Liston's thinking?
Well, they have to make a difference because Liston, I think he don't see too well out both his eyes now because they're pretty well puffed out. And I think Clay got all the comfort he needs now, so I think that he can't him go on winning now.
They might be stopping it. That might be all, ladies and gentlemen. Get up there, Joe. Get up there. Get up in the ring. You stopped the fight at the end of 6. Is that recorded as a 7th round knockout?
It is a 7th round knockout.
It's recorded as a 7th round knockout. And thank you, Barney. You did a good job. All right, Howard. Hey, Joe. What did he say? Wait a minute, Barney.
See if he cannot come. The doctor will let him come.
Okay. Okay, get Cassius Clay. Wait. Whoa. Hold it. He's yelling behind us. Cassius Clay, wait a minute, come here. Come here. Come here, champ.
I'm the greatest thing that ever lived.
Now, wait a minute. Now hold it, move over, Joe. Joe, get on the hold it. Bedlam breaking out, Bedlam busting out here.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face.
Yeah.
And I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, can't nobody be against me.
Sonny,
I shook up the world. I know God. I know the real God.
Cassius, wait a minute, Cassius. Let me ask you this now. You told me when you visited in Los Angeles you could do it in 8. Well, you thought Sonny and figured Sonny was great. How come you did it in 6 or 7? You did it in 7.
I had him going in 8. I was getting ready to take him in the 8th, as you can see. But the man stopped it just to keep from making me look so great.
Right. I see. Now, give us that poetry on number 7.
He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him in 7.
You took him in 7.
I am the king of the world.
Hold it.
I'm pretty.
Hold it. You're not that pretty.
I'm a bad man.
Wait.
I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
Wait a minute, Cash. Wait a minute.
You must listen to me.
Now listen.
I am the double.
All right, hold it. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you this.
I can't be beat.
Joe, wait, hold it. They're booing the champ, but I don't think so. All right, tell us this. All right, Cash. Thank you.
I'm great.
Thank you, Cassius Clay, the heavyweight champion. Let's get our champion, Joe Louis, over here as the camera follows Cassius Clay. Joe, what did it? His shoulder went out. Give us the analysis there.
As you know, I said that I think Clay getting all the confidence in the world after in the 6th round. I think he had all the confidence to go ahead and defeat Sonny, like I just said. But the doctor stopped him although the doctor stopped it on the left arm and throw it out of whack.
All right,
I still think that Clay probably could still beat Sonny because he had too much confidence.
The fight was stopped after the 6th round. Liston had been busted up and remained on his stool. Clay celebrated in the ring. The 22-year-old underdog was now the new heavyweight champion of the world. The initial excuse coming from Team Liston was that Liston had injured his arm. Some articles said it was his shoulder. Clay stayed in the ring, and there was a second part to the post-fight interview.
You got the light heavyweight champion. Did you think after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 that you had it wrapped up?
Lead pipe cinch. I knew he was going to knock the guy out, Steve. But I thought he was going to knock him out 11 or 12. And he
11 or 12.
Point, see?
All right, lead pipe cinch, you call it.
That's right.
And tell me this. What are his plans? Would he fight a guy in the top 6, say like an Eddie Machen, for example?
Fight anybody. He'll be a fighting heavyweight champ. It's the best thing that happened to boxing.
All right. When you say the best thing, why? Why do you give us that story?
This guy gives a lot of zets in boxing. Keeps people talking boxing. What do we want? We need people like that in boxing. It's a fresh young kid that we need. And this kid's done a lot for boxing. I'm thrilled to be with him.
Well, you certainly have done a good job of teaching him, schooling him. Now, do you think that Liston, or will you give Liston a return fight?
Well, that's up to Bill Fabersham. I feel there'll be no problem. I feel they'll get together if the money's right.
No problem if the money's right. He's still making speeches over there. Maybe Joe is getting him on his mic. At least I hope he is. Angela, thank you. Come over here now again, Cassius. Ann's just said you perhaps would give Sonny, if Bill Fabersham and you say okay, a return shot.
If the man dreamed he fought me twice, he would apologize.
He would apologize.
He would apologize.
All right, now, Cassius.
There was no match. I want the world to know I'm so great until Sonny Liston was not even a match. I don't have a mark on my face. In the 5th round, he had liniment in his head, he had liniment in his gloves, and I couldn't do nothing but hold him and duck.
Now hold it, y'all. Sonny, Cassius, you said
my eyes was burning.
Right. We thought that maybe Ange or one of your cornermen put some stuff on the towel by mistake.
The man's trainers are dirty. He had
fingers are dirty.
He had liniment. Liniment in his head.
Did he stick you with his thumb? Is that what you're trying to say?
My whole face is burning.
Your face was burning.
Still burning. I whooped him. He couldn't even hurt me. And I must admit, it was the prettiest thing that ever lived.
Hold it. Here's a guy.
I just shook up the world.
Joe Louis. Joe, come on in and ask.
I won't
ask Cassius. Joe, tell Cassius about the injury that Sonny suffered. Wait a minute. No excuse. No excuse. Joe, tell him.
It was a big cut eye.
Go ahead, Joe. Tell him. It wasn't a cut eye.
The doctor say he pulled his left arm out of the socket.
Swinging and nothing. Who wouldn't?
Uncle got it.
He wasn't doing nothing. Sam Cook. Hey, let that man up here.
He'll be up. No, wait, hold it now.
Let that man up.
He's coming up.
Let that man up here.
He's coming up. Now listen, Cassius, hold it.
This is Sam Cook.
All right. Liston's shoulder went out. Sam Cook, a very good friend, a good vocalist with Cassius. Excuse me.
We both
move back if you will.
Thank you. Take up the world. Now he's got an excuse. His arm was out of place. Steve Ellis. I want to tell the people out here.
Steve Allen said that I would get Liston, and Steve Allen, I also told Steve Allen that I would get him in the 7. Steve Allen. Didn't I say 7?
Did. You said 7 to me.
I didn't tell the press.
You kept your word.
I told him I'd get him in 7, but the world didn't hear that.
Before the fight,
Just
you
before
said
the fight,
7.
I said I'd get him in 7. Steve Allen's heard it.
Thank you very much. He did tell me that, ladies and gentlemen.
What you gonna say now, huh? He can't go 1 round. He might get him in 2. He pulls his head back. He holds his hands too low. Well, I'm still pretty. Was with me. 5th round, I couldn't see. He had liniment in his gloves and liniment all over his head. My whole face was burning. You saw me. I couldn't throw a punch, and I still got away. I whooped him so bad he had to go to the hospital, and I'm still pretty. What you gonna say about that, huh? 43 of them. The bear couldn't hurt me. The bear couldn't even get a good lick. I'm so pretty. Put him in the hospital. He's never been stopped. He's never been well. Oh, I'm so great. Oh, I'm so great. Oh, I shook up. And what make it so good? All of these hypocrites. You can't call it a fix. You can't call it a fix because I didn't stop the fight. The doctors had to stop it. Oh, I'm so pretty. I shook up the world. Now I'm through talking. Come on now. I'm through talking. Now you write the results. Who are you gonna fight next? Who's the greatest? You notice they don't say nothing. No justice whatsoever. No justice. They don't want you. Don't even want to give me justice. Who you gonna fight next? Who you gonna fight next? I'm revealing all of you. Who's the greatest? I give you one more chance. Who's the greatest? All right.
Dance for the crown. Dance for it. The world is watching you. The champ. The biggest sporting event ever been held on the face of the earth. I'm the champ. Yeah. I'm the biggest thing in history. I'm the king. The queen is that the queen of the Beatles. The Beatles king. The Beatles gave nothing but the Beatles for my autograph. I'm the king. King of the ring. Now listen, to cut that mustache off. I won't even shave yet. Yeah. Champ. How'd your leg go give you a commercial? Ain't that a shame? Don't even shave. Say you're mad because your leg won't give you a commercial. Because I don't shave.
Feel that you started to get the confidence.
Well, I thought I would knock him out in the 1st round. I believe that was one of my best rounds. I was hitting him with so many hooks and right crosses. He was about out. But after the 1st round, I saw nothing but fear in his eyes. And I'm so happy now. I don't have to talk as loud as I used to. I told the world what I would do. I just missed my prediction by 1 round. If he had came out in the 8th round, I would have knocked him out. And my prediction would have been accurate. I would have got Liston in 8 like I've been telling the world. But so now a lot of people were saying that if I beat Sonny Liston, all the people out there, you know who you are, a lot of the high school children I know were saying if he beat Sonny Liston, then I know it was a fix. So what made it so good, I didn't knock him out. They can't say it was a fix or nothing like that because I didn't stop the fight. The doctor and the referee stopped the fight. He couldn't see. I heard he just took him to Christian Hospital. He's a nice fellow.
One thing. What are you planning?
But he needed a little more experience.
How do you stand now, Cassius, with the draft?
I don't know. I'm just waiting.
Do you have any plans from now on for the next couple of months?
Well, I'll just tour the road and do some exhibitions. I'm trying to get me a good exhibition in my hometown lined up for next week.
Cassius, in the opening round, I noticed that you were fighting a style that a lot of people said to fight, that is to stick and move. Did you adopt this plan when the fight started, or did you do it before?
I've always fought like that, but I got a lot of experience out of watching the Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta film, and this was the same type fight. Robinson was a dancer like me. I was a dancer like Robinson, rather, and Jamal LaMotta was like Sugar Ray, slow and flat.
He never said a word to you after the fight, did he? Did you go over and talk to him in his corner and say anything to him at all?
No, I didn't say nothing.
You haven't talked to him?
I was so excited. I was so happy I won.
When did you feel that you had the title wrapped up?
Well, after the 1st round, I knew I had him, so I got tough.
Okay, Cassius. Is it true you're going to marry Dee Dee and avoid the Army?
Oh, man, what you talking about?
During the post-fight interviews, Clay accused Liston's team of using a blinding substance on Liston's gloves. He also announced on that night that he may indeed perhaps give Sonny Liston a rematch. As fight fans, the experts as well as former fighters accused Liston of quitting on his stool. Liston told the media that he wanted the fight to continue. There was mixed reports on how the fight ended. According to Liston, he hurt his left shoulder in the 1st round. He told his corner he could not lift his arm, and Liston's team stopped the bout. Former fighter and trainer Willie Reddish was identified as the man that stopped the bout. The Miami Beach Boxing Commission placed a hold on Liston's purse, which was well over $1 million. After receiving a doctor's report confirming Liston's injury the next day, Liston would eventually be paid. According to the media, it was Liston's left shoulder that had been injured. According to additional reports, Liston had received the shoulder injury at an earlier date. Regardless, it appeared as though Liston's shoulder injury was legit, giving Liston a stronger argument for a rematch to take place. Clay contradicted himself in the post-fight interviews, at times talking about retirement and at other times telling the media he would give Liston a rematch. Clay was excited and he was all over the place. Even though Clay had dominated Liston, criticism poured in from fight fans and boxing experts around the country. Many of the fight fans claimed that their problem with Clay was that Clay had a big mouth. An ego-bruised Sonny Liston spoke to the media the day after the fight. According to Liston, Clay was not a very good fighter and Patterson was better. He told the media that the only reason he lost to Clay was because he hurt his shoulder. He called Clay a foot racer and said that he would be more prepared if he could allow his injury to heal and get a rematch. According to some experts, Clay had not looked great against Billy Daniels, Sonny Banks, Doug Jones, and Henry Cooper. And the new criticism is that Sonny Liston was not 100%. Plus, there was some criticisms on Clay, as some said that he was going to quit in the fight as a blinding substance had got in his eye, and if it wasn't for Angelo Dundee pushing him out the fight, Clay would have quit in the corner. The biggest and most controversial news coming the day after the fight was that Clay would finally admit to the media that he was with the NOI. He told the media that his religion was Islam and that Allah is God. He referred to Islam as the truth and the light and said that only Islam can save the world. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad called Clay a disciple. He also spoke on the press, referring to the Nation of Islams as the Black Muslims. He said that the press made that name up and that the real name is Islam, which means peace. But yet the media continues to call us a hate group. He said that they do not marry white women and that they stick to their own, and said that white people should be in tune with their ways since many white people wanted some of the same things. He said that he is also a stand-up citizen that has never been to court or went to jail. Clay pointed out that he does not join integration marches or follow up with all the white women winking at him, and according to Clay, there was many white women after him. In the next few days after winning the heavyweight championship, Clay had appeared to have calmed down. When asked by the media why he appeared to be so laid back, Clay responded by telling them he had proved his point. Some call this new laid back approach an act. According to Elijah Muhammad, Clay won because Allah himself made sure Clay won. Some media inked Clay as a lost young man with many personalities, especially since Clay was telling the media that he was thinking of retirement and that he did not like hurting people. The military was also coming up in several articles. The question was asked, would Clay serve his country? As the days rolled on, more information came out on Liston. Liston had been having problems with his left shoulder for quite some time, and there was rumor that Liston had arthritis in his left shoulder. There was also a downgrading of Liston taking place. And according to some experts, Liston and Clay could not compare to the heavyweight champions of the past. Just before the fight, some was thinking Liston could have been the most dangerous heavyweight champion to ever live. Recently, Rocky Marciano, who had been out of the ring for 8 years, admitted that he had been training for a comeback. Even on the night of Liston vs. Clay, Marciano thought about it and was told he could receive a $2 million payday if he agreed to fight the winner. Marciano was then told that an additional $1 million could be added to the $2 million. On February 28th, Marciano told the media that he would have defeated Clay in his prime. But the 40-year-old Marciano, who weighed in the 180s in his prime, said that he was now 230 pounds and that he just was not sure if he could beat Clay at 40. He believed he had a chance, but didn't want to take a risk.
All evening with him. Oh, Clay anticipate Liston quitting. First heavyweight champion ever to forfeit his championship sitting on his rump in the corner.
Yeah, baby. Let's knock out punch, man. Thank you. Sonny, Sonny, Sonny. Let me get you in that
talking. I don't have to talk no more. I don't prove my part. All I have to do is just be a nice, clean gentleman. That's all.
Nice, clean gentleman.
I don't like to fight. You notice the way I hit and move. I mean, I don't like to get hit, and I don't like hurting people. All of you all were wrong. You didn't know what you're talking about.
What was it you said? You always knew?
I said I always knew how hard he hit, and I always knew that he couldn't hit me. That's why I talk so bold. And I knew that you all didn't know what you're talking about.
Did he ever? Here, fellas, if you have any questions, ask. What's happening?
In the first round, I felt that my arm, I don't know what it left me, or I know it went out. It's one of those things that happen.
Do you think to get a rematch?
Well, if Clay want to give me a rematch, and if he don't, I imagine I'll forget it.
Like a butterfly, sing like a bee. Float like a butterfly, swing like a bee. Float like a butterfly, swing like a bee. Float like a butterfly, sing like a bee. Float like a butterfly, sing like a bee.
I like everybody. I treat everybody right. I wasn't forcing myself in the neighborhoods where I'm not wanted. I wasn't busting down those schools and shaming America. I wasn't doing all that. I was just around colored people. And now I'm catching more hell than all of the people who's raising hell. The more you wear me, keep asking me about where I go, then that makes me really look into it. I said, well, why is everybody so shook up? What do I act like I'm to you? Do I act like I'm...
I don't know, Cassius. You're just, like you say, you're the greatest.
Well, see, you can't fool me. You can't interfere to me with what people might think, because I know different. Why I can't go here? Why I can't listen to this? Well, what is it to this? It makes me check it more. I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want to be and think what I want to think. I don't believe in forced integration. Ain't no never work. And you know it ain't gonna work. You always knew it wasn't right, but I never did know. Now that I done found out, you seem to be shook up. You should be glad I done woke up. Now I'm not gonna worry you. One Negro coming to school and the police forces out there, and the mayor and the governor and the farmers with the hoses and race riots and whooping them, and they gotta go back home, and they come back the next day and the mayor's out there and the president's gotta go down there and straighten them out, and then the people boycott the school, and they serious. The women throw bricks, the little girls throw bricks, and the little babies, and everybody. That's serious. It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. That's why I'm not around it. I might get killed.
But I shook up the world. What did he do? Time to mouth to fight the president. The president. Big money. You're going to knock him out. Cassius Clay, I ain't stuck to fight the president. I am a Mr. Cassius Clay, baby. World heavyweight champion. Cassius Clay in person. Oh, man, you go somewhere and drop dead because you won't land twice. Who's the prettiest fighter in history? Cassius Clay. He is the greatest. I shook up the world. I'm the greatest thing in the world. Fly like a butterfly, sing like a bee. Got it out there, I was dancing like Sugar Ray. I was dancing, singing and dancing. Did you kill him, Clay? $15 million. You the greatest, baby. Yeah, you.
Let's get into a magazine review from Boxing Illustrated and Wrestling News. The first edition released after the fight. Many heavyweights were featured in this edition, one being highly rated heavyweight Eddie Machen. Machen had not lost since 1961 and was on a 5-fight knockout streak. He had showed up to the fight and said that he was disappointed in Liston. He said that he believed Liston was past his prime, and if that was the Liston that had won a decision over him in 1960, Clay would not have lasted one round. Machen, along with others, believed that Liston was either close to or around the age of 40, or maybe even perhaps 40 years old. Some of the fighters that was mentioned as possible fighters that could beat Clay was Eddie Machen, Cleveland Williams, Ernie Terrell, Floyd Patterson, and a light heavyweight named Harold Johnson that sometimes fought heavyweights. As for Sonny Liston, rumor had it that Liston made $1.3 million, and some thought Liston needed to retire and enjoy his money. The new WBA ratings was released, and as of now, Sonny Liston was rated at number 3. Doug Jones was being rated at number 1, and Ernie Terrell was rated at number 2, followed by Eddie Machen at 4 after Sonny Liston. You had Zora Foley followed by Cleveland Williams, Floyd Patterson, Henry Cooper, Carl Mildenberger, and George Chuvalo. Here's a look at Boxing Illustrated's top 50 fighters in the heavyweight division. The big historical news in boxing in 1964 was the question, did Jack Dempsey use loaded gloves when he fought Jess Willard over 40 years earlier? Dempsey was not happy receiving attention for a fight that happened so long ago. The Big Cat Williams was being used to demonstrate Dempsey's innocence. Instead of focusing on the story, we will focus on what this meant for top-rated heavyweight Cleveland Williams. This was an opportunity in 1964 for more exposure. Considering that the outspoken legend Dempsey was still loved by many fight fans, Williams was taking on this role defending Dempsey, and this could actually be a smart move for the Big Cat. There was also an article covering a new 21-year-old heavyweight. 2-0 Oscar Bonavena had turned pro, and there was high expectations for the heavyweight coming out of Argentina, especially coming off 2 first-round knockouts. His opponent, Everett Copeland, was hit so hard at the 27 mark, he was out for minutes. His first fight ended in 47 seconds. His second fight ended in 27 seconds. He was being compared to Rocky Marciano just 2 fights in. According to his team, he was the new Marciano, except he was bigger and punched harder than Marciano. He was from the tough streets of Argentina, and he had a real nasty attitude. Now living in New York City, Bonavena was having problems finding sparring partners as he was knocking out all the heavyweights in the gym. Bonavena was said to have a nasty attitude, and his trainer admitted that Bonavena wasn't the easiest fighter to work with. According to Boxing Illustrated, Bonavena was 41-1 as an amateur. Bonavena was also said to have a few bad habits, but his people thought they had a possible future heavyweight champion on their hands. He needed to get some work in because the first 2 fights did nothing more than prove he has power. At the end of February, there was some more articles linking Clay to the NOI. Not only was Clay admitting that he was part of the NOI, it was now inked that he had been a member for nearly 5 years. Clay solidified the rumors and addressed his connection with the NOI again. He wanted the media, fight fans, and the people who took interest to know that even though there was controversy surrounding the NOI, he made the best decision to join them. In early March, Clay traveled north to meet with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm X had recently been silenced by Elijah Muhammad for some statements made regarding the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. During his meeting with Elijah Muhammad, which took place somewhere between March 1st and March 4th, Clay, who had just had Malcolm X with his team 2 weeks earlier and was also seen with Malcolm X on March 1st, appeared to have changed some of his views on his friend Malcolm X. During the time he met with Elijah Muhammad, a series of articles surfaced around the country, inking Cassius to now being called Cassius X. Clay's parents was not happy about Clay abandoning his last name, but the decision was out of their hands. Clay was convinced that he had made the right decisions by joining the NOI and changing his name. Relations between Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad heated up. An official announcement had not been made, but the rumor had it that Malcolm X was no longer part of the NOI. On March 6th, there was an announcement made that Cassius X had a new name. That name would be Muhammad Ali. Ali addressed the media right away. He still seemed somewhat unsure on how he would proceed with his friendship with Malcolm X, but it appears as though something was said, and in a matter of days, Clay and X was no longer on the same page.
Years before I met Malcolm X. Oh, really? He's a friend of yours now, though, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was a brother of mine. He's my brother. Whatever you do, he's my brother. Now that he's split away from the Muslims... I don't know about splitting. I'll have to see the higher authority on that. That's one of my main reasons for going, is to find out the real story. I don't believe nothing the press and people write. You don't think they're right in the reports that he has split away after this suspension? I'm not saying what they said wasn't true. I'm not saying it was true, but I am saying that I know that they have told a lot of lies on me and said things that wasn't true, so I don't believe nothing they say from here on out about other people. How do you mean they've been telling lies? In what way? Just those stories and dropping bad seeds about everything, making me look like a bad man, making me look like the Ku Klux Klan or somebody. And that's nothing like the religion of Islam. We don't teach. We nothing like nobody from no Ku Klux Klan. We don't hate nobody. They make it look like something bad. And so I don't believe nothing to say about nobody.
Are you still headed abroad?
Yes, sir.
When do you go?
I'm making about 3 weeks. I'm going over to all the Asian and African countries. Matter of fact, I have to go to New York, too, to get my official welcome by various governments.
Do you still plan to visit Mecca?
Yes, sir, the holy city of Mecca. That's why I got my holy name there, Muhammad Ali. I couldn't get in without a holy name.
And that's why you have the name Muhammad Ali.
Well, I don't say that's why my leader gave it to me. He has a reason for giving it to me, but
that's quite an honor, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Are there very many others who have the
It's not my name no more.
Officially Muhammad Ali now.
Muhammad Ali, right. Muhammad Ali. That's my name.
Where are you going from here?
Well, from here I'm leaving. I'm going right over in a couple of days. My first stop will be Cairo, Egypt.
You know when you're going to fight again?
Well, as soon as I find somebody crazy enough to get in the ring with me. Don't nobody want me.
Once again, you can see Malcolm X and Clay pictured together here on March 1st. Give it a few days and this friendship appeared to be coming to an end. Divisive articles also surfaced as to who should receive credit for Ali's success between Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Ali requested that the media call him by his new name. According to reports, Ali heard the reports that his name had been changed while listening to the radio in his hotel suite. Ali had wanted the fight fans to know about his decision to join the NOI at an earlier date. The reason why the announcement wasn't made sooner was because wealthy businessmen affiliated with Ali thought the announcement may hurt ticket sales. They also wanted no affiliation with the NOI. According to millionaire promoter Bill McDonald, he along with a group of millionaires discussed calling off the fight and going another direction. According to McDonald, the Nation of Islam was a hate group and he compared the NOI to the KKK. He said that he would never do business with the KKK, so why should he do business with the NOI? But was the NOI really comparable to the KKK, who had been responsible for deaths and violent crimes against black people for several decades? Ali was not only being connected to the group that the media called the Black Muslims, he was being connected to Malcolm X, who had recently been silenced by the NOI. A series of articles was released linking Ali to what the media inked as cruel statements made by Malcolm X directed at white America. Before the fight, Ali was asked by his management group if he was affiliated with the Black Muslims. They told him that if he was affiliated with them, that they could no longer back him. It was brought up that Ali had lied to Angelo Dundee asking for a day off, a day that turned out to be more than just a day. What did Ali do? He traveled up to New York to attend a rally with Malcolm X. When Malcolm X showed up to camp, Ali told his backers that Malcolm X was just a friend, and that's as far as his connection with Malcolm X went. Malcolm X would leave camp to take pressure off Clay, but would return to Miami to watch the fight. The news on Ali's affiliation was now in the open, and could it be that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted to separate Ali from Malcolm X? The atmosphere was tense, but boxing business had to go on. According to Ali, finding a heavyweight that was crazy enough to get in the ring with him would not be easy. But that was far from the truth. In fact, being the new heavyweight champion placed increased targets on Ali. One of the most vocal contenders was a tall fighter and son of a Mississippi sharecropper named Ernie Terrell. Terrell originated from out of Mississippi, but had later moved to Chicago. It was in Chicago that Terrell learned to box and would win the Golden Gloves. He was also a singer that formed his own singing group called the Knockouts. "I want Cassius X," said the 6'6" tall, rangy Terrell. "I could beat Cassius X any day of the week." Placing an emphasis on the X, Terrell was somewhat sarcastic as well as arrogant and appeared to have no issue calling Ali Cassius X. The announcement of the name change had only been made the day before, so perhaps Terrell had not received the word on the name change, and that Cassius X was only a name thrown out there for a few days until the full name change would be announced. Maybe Terrell was being sarcastic, but this was hard to determine as news did not travel as quickly in the year of 1964 as it does today. March 8th, big news coming from out of the North. Malcolm X was being inked to have left the NOI and to be starting his own group. When asked why he left, Malcolm X said that during the time he was silenced, he thought he would be best served to continue Elijah Muhammad's message on his own and focus on black people that was not affiliated with the NOI. He said that he remains a Muslim, but would be looking forward to putting in more work in the South and would be starting out in Louisiana. According to Malcolm X, he had been asking Elijah Muhammad for an opportunity to invade the South for a number of years and said that Elijah Muhammad had refused to grant him permission. So again, Malcolm X told the media that he had accepted some work in Louisiana and said that he would also be accepting invitations to speak at universities around the country as the white students were more open to change than their parents. Breaking away can always come with some consequences, but there was no doubt about it, this would harm the bond between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. To conclude for now on this matter, the departure with the NOI from Malcolm X was announced 2 days after Cassius Clay's name change to Muhammad Ali.
Why don't you like to be called Clay anymore?
No, Clay was not my name. Once we follow, believe, and understand the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and come into knowledge of ourselves, then we want to be called after names of our people, which are names that fit us black people, and Clay was a white man's name. It was a slave name, and I'm no longer Clay, I'm no longer a slave, so now I'm Muhammad Ali.
Do you answer to Clay anymore?
Well, some people, they still say Clay. Cassius.
Sports writers still call you Clay.
No, I stopped them because they know better, but some people who don't know better, they say, how you doing, Mr. Clay? I may not say nothing because the intention was nice, it didn't mean no harm. Then some walk up, how you doing, boy? How you feeling, Cassius? Meet Mr. Clay, fine boy. Then I have to straighten him out because he's agitating and acting smart and bossy. But it's according to how they approach me.
March 11th, 1964. Well, it appears as though former heavyweight champion of the world Sonny Liston is back to his old ways. After defeating Floyd Patterson in 1962, Liston promised that he would be a better citizen as the heavyweight champion of the world. He appeared to have lived up to that promise, but Liston was no longer the world's heavyweight champion. On the 11th of March, he was arrested in Denver for speeding and carrying a concealed weapon. Liston was traveling at 76 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. Liston was inked to have attempted to flee and elude law enforcement and was also inked to act in a belligerent manner, making threats towards law enforcement. Liston cooled off as he was placed in cuffs. After being placed in cuffs, Liston was told that he would have to go to jail. Liston told the arresting officer that he was going to whip him and that he would get away with it. There was also a woman with Liston that was not Liston's wife, and the officer allowed the woman to get back in Liston's car and drive it away. According to the officer, he was not aware of who Liston was because Liston did not have a driver's license and would not give the officer his name. But when they arrived at the police station, Liston was recognized right away. Liston was charged with multiple charges and released in under an hour. Liston had nearly $1,000 in his pocket and paid the $300 bond. On March 13th, Ali was ordered to take a 2.5 to 3 hour written exam with the Army. His first test, which he completed earlier in the year, was determined to be inconclusive. This time, he would have to return to Kentucky. The test he took earlier in the year took place in Florida. Ali was told that he would receive the results in a month. According to Ali, this test was tougher than the first test. Ali was asked to take a picture with the commanding officer on site and did so, but declined to wear an army cap. There was also some issues when Ali arrived at 7:30 a.m. According to the soldiers on site, Ali was supposed to arrive at 6:45 a.m. He was told by the military staff that he would not be receiving any VIP treatment and that they expected him to arrive on time when called in the future. He was also told that he would not be allowed to have his driver bring him to any future dates and that he would travel like the other young men. That would be in a staff car or bus. There was over 120 additional young men present, and when asked about Ali's behavior, most of the other men said that Ali appeared to be a nervous wreck. According to one of the commanding officers, plans was already being made for Ali to be sent to Fort Knox, which is located in his home state of Kentucky. After leaving the exam, Ali traveled to Chicago to meet with his leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Ali was asked about Sonny Liston's recent arrest and said that Sonny Liston needed spiritual guidance and even offered to give Liston spiritual guidance himself or place him on the right path to spiritual guidance. A few days later, on March 14th, former heavyweight champion of the world Jack Dempsey blasted Liston and Ali through the media. According to Dempsey, Ali was not a real American. He criticized Ali for being affiliated with the NOI and stated that he did not know much about the black Muslims. Dempsey went on to say that he does not like what he was hearing about the black Muslims. He then accused Liston of being a quitter and said that the heavyweight fighters of the 1960s were not cut from his cloth. According to Dempsey, Ali was a quitter too and nearly quit in the fight with Liston when he complained about a blinding substance being placed in his eyes. Dempsey concluded by saying boxing was in a bad place and that all the pretenders need to be removed from the sport. The other legends did not appear to be happy about modern boxing themselves, but Dempsey was the past fighter that brought forth the most criticism. The 1960s had living legends like Dempsey, Tunney, Braddock, Lewis, Walcott, and Marciano. Lewis and Walcott was personally closer to the fighters in the spotlight and chose their words of criticism more carefully. Dempsey had recently been in the news as writers of the time period had revisited his fight with Jess Willard, which had took place 45 years earlier. Dempsey was being accused of loading his gloves in the 1919 fight with Willard. Willard was still around and was now in his early 80s. By 1964, Willard's opinion on Ali and Liston was pursued, but the 82-year-old Willard was now staying low-key by the year of 1964. Dempsey was also a fighter that drew a color line, so was Dempsey being a hypocrite critiquing Ali and Liston so harshly? March 21st, 1964. It had only been a little over a week since Ali took his exam with the Army. He was told that he would receive the results in a month. Well, the results were back early, and the media received those results right away. Ali was inked to have failed both exams, with his biggest problem subject being math. The Army testing experts did put forth a statement that they believe Ali put forth his best efforts while taking the test. Apparently, Ali gave the exams his best efforts. Here is an example of one of the test questions according to Ali, as well as some detailed information on what he was facing during the exam. Cassius X. Clay, heavyweight boxing champion of the world, will not be going into the armed forces because he failed the aptitude tests. What were they like? He was put through a tough 2.5 hours mental test and came away feeling much more fatigued than he did on the night he sensationally disposed of Sonny Liston. Man, the test was tough. I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy. I remember one problem. It went like this. There are 12 bushels of apples. They cost $10 each. You buy them, but before you do, you take 1/3 of the apples out of each bushel. How much do you pay for the apples? After scratching around 10 or 15 minutes on paper, I think I got the answer, but then a guy came by, took that test out of my hand and gave me another. When I looked down on the test he took from me, there was still a long row of questions that I didn't answer.
I think that Muhammad Ali is a very wonderful brother, and that he is a champion in every sense of the word. And the thing that he's running into some trouble in is that he has accepted the religion of Islam and is a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And today, since the coming of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we are respecting black. We look up to black. We are not ashamed of being black. And we are seeking the friendship and brotherhood of black people, such as we've never done before. Up until this time, we have been serving the white man, who we know today to be a race of devils.
We have enough power to do for ourselves like other people are doing for themselves. If 5 million people in Africa, in Ghana, can do for themselves, if 5 million in Cuba can do for themselves, then we feel that 22 million so-called Negroes in America can build us an independent government, an independent nation right here in America, if need be. If not, we'll do it someplace else.
March 23rd, 1964. News going around the boxing world is that an 8 to 20 man committee from the WBA may be stripping Ali of his WBA heavyweight title for what they call acts detrimental to boxing. According to the WBA, Ali and Liston both should be banned from the sport of boxing. According to them, a vote would be made and announced later. Their problem with Ali was that Ali had recently announced that he was involved with the NOI. The WBA and their members felt as though the NOI was a hate group. According to the WBA president Ed Lastman, their plan is to remove both Ali and Liston from the WBA rankings. Of course, that would be removing Ali as the champion and removing Liston from the top 10. According to Lastman, Ali and Liston was not positive role models for children. The British Board of Control also announced that they are suspending Liston in England for signing to fight there and not living up to a contract. The WBA dropped Liston from their ratings due to his latest charges, but as of now, the decision on Ali was still pending. As of now, the WBC, the other sanctioning body, had not released any statements. When Ali heard the news, he told the media that he hopes the WBA will not be cowards and strip him of his title. According to Ali, being stripped is the only way that he could lose his title. Ali then said he was willing to fight 3 of the top 5 contenders on the same night. When Ali heard that the members of the WBA were saying that he set a poor example for children, he said that they must be referring to Sonny Liston, as hundreds of children follow him when he's in the public and their parents encourage them to get autographs. I'm a beautiful role model. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I've never been caught stealing. I don't run around with women and carry pistols. I'm also an Olympic gold medalist for this country. Won the heavyweight title fair and clean. I'm so clean and peaceful. I've never been in any kind of trouble. Lastman's thinking about Sonny Liston. Ali continued to counter the WBA by saying that he would like a nationwide poll to be completed, and Lastman would then know the truth. Members of the New York State Athletic Commission made statements supporting Ali and thought the WBA was treating Ali unfairly. The questions posed was, why was Ali really being stripped? And should a fighter be stripped because of his religious beliefs? The New York State Athletic Commission had not had a world heavyweight champion since Joe Louis, so according to a series of articles, it appeared as though the New York State Athletic Commission would be back to support Ali. Ali was also being supported by the Ring magazine. There was news that the New York State Athletic Commission would be holding an elimination tournament to find an opponent for their world champion Muhammad Ali. The WBA statements on Ali did not go unnoticed by boxing insiders and experts, and many did not support their decision. The WBA needed another reason to strip Ali. There was some rumblings about a rematch clause that was signed by Ali before he fought Liston and won the heavyweight championship. So the WBA decided to make this the reason to strip Ali. The rematch clause was not in the original contract, and the WBA did not support rematch clauses at this time. Ali denied that there was ever a rematch clause signed. It now appeared as though the WBA would be moving on if Ali decided to take a rematch with Sonny Liston. But the WBA's initial hang-up was that Ali committed acts detrimental to boxing. This basically had to do with Ali's affiliation with the NOI. The WBA appeared to want to move on from both Ali and Liston. So as of this point, Liston was dropped from the WBA's ratings and Ali was still their champion, but appeared to be walking on thin ice. On April 4th, Ali told the media that he is considering taking a job in Egypt to be a teacher for the Nation of Islam. According to Ali, the Egyptian government has offered to build a center in his name and pay him $100,000 a year. But was this just talk from Ali to show his critics that he does have other options and that he does portray a positive image and is viewed as a role model on a global level? April 24th, 1964. The rumors have been confirmed. Negotiations have started for a rematch to occur between Ali and Liston. The date being looked at was September. The location being considered was Ali's hometown of Louisville. There was no official word yet on the WBA's stance on this fight taking place. However, it was inked that Liston was in the process of applying for reinstatement with the WBA. Liston told the media that he did not train hard for the first fight with Ali and that he would be going to the mountains to train for the rematch. There was also some internal fighting going on in the camp with Team Liston, so Liston would have a full plate with perhaps his biggest concern being a bad shoulder. While Liston spoke on training and being better prepared for this next fight, Ali continued to enjoy a celebrity lifestyle. After appearing on a few shows in America, on May 15th of 1964, Ali would travel to Africa and the Middle East. He would arrive in Africa first. Ali joked and said that he intended on finding 4 wives while out of the country.
Who used to be in the Islamic religion, who deviated and went out and got in trouble with some little young girl when he was married, and plus left his wife and 8 or 9 children, and then stole $500 from Muhammad Speaks newspapers, stole $800 from my brother in Florida. We later found out after he left that it was him, and all of this is just revealing him. He's a publicity hound. He wants his picture in the paper. You told me he called you up wanting to know if he can get an interview. He called up Louisville, Kentucky, wanting Larry Beck of the Louisville Courier-Journal wanting an interview. He called up Mark Crawford of Life magazine and a few more writers. He wants his name in the paper. When he was with me, he would always go downstairs and get the paper and say, "Oh, here I am." So now that destroyed him. What he wanted destroyed him. Now he's famous. Now he's no longer welcome with us. He's out. He's broke all the laws of being righteous and living clean. Now he's out like Malcolm X and the other hypocrites. As our leaders say, as soon as they leave, then they will, Allah, God will drive them worse away. And then the first fear will come to him is that someone's trying to take the light. And that's what's happening to him and all these other hypocrites.
Are there anything?
Well, they all try, but they only, every knock is a boost. They only keep us more in the public, the light, and keep the name Muslim and Islam and Elijah Muhammad in print. The NACP done played out, the Urban League done played out, the court done played out, the walk-ins done played out, the sit-ins, the crawl-ins, the swim-ins, the run-ins, the run-outs. All of these things have failed, and now the masses of the people are looking for something else to do because things are really getting worse. Black people are being shot and killed in churches and on highways, and the judges and jewelry turn them loose, the killers, and this with the blood on their hands. And people are waking up, and Muhammad's the only man really preaching the whole outright factual truth. So the more these hypocrites talk about us, the more they write about us, the more we stay in the public to the people.
You feel that things are really worse in civil rights in this country?
Yes, sir. They are much worse.
Why do you say that, Jesse?
They are so worse until the people are scared to demonstrate anymore. And the leaders, once they win a lot of money, they leave the country and go somewhere. And
Ali would return to America over a month later. That would be on June 24th. We will get back to June 24th shortly. While Ali was out of the country, boxing business continued on a global level. Back in America, there were some people as well as a few politicians not happy about Ali getting out of the country and traveling, and was also not satisfied with the results of Ali's 2 exams with the Army. There was now talk circulating regarding the heavyweight champion attending officer training school. Newspaper articles continued to surface in America, and the young heavyweight champion appeared to be having a good time. This did not sit well with his critics. Many youngsters his age was now getting prepared to go to battle in Vietnam. According to black leaders back in America, young black soldiers were being sent to the front lines at a higher rate than white soldiers. They questioned the statistical data, and some leaders such as Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad did not believe black men belonged in the war and felt young black men were being used to support and preserve white supremacy. Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X were no longer in good terms, but both agreed Ali did not belong in the Army. Articles surfaced connecting Ali to Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, inking that both encouraged black men not to join the military service, and that Elijah Muhammad had been telling black men not to go to war since World War II. On May 30th, Sonny Liston had his day in court. He was ordered to pay some fines and received a 30-day suspended jail sentence. Liston was inked to be spending his time off the streets and in the gym preparing for Ali. Before Ali returned to America, he would talk boxing on June 5th. His target this day was Floyd Patterson. According to Ali, Patterson was Catholic, and with the help of Allah, he would beat Patterson if and when they meet in the ring. After the beating, he vowed to convert Patterson over to Islam. Ali continued to tell his followers that he is fighting for Allah. Back in America, he received criticisms for statements like this because at times Ali would say Islam meant peace, and other times he would say that he was fighting for Allah. The American media criticized Ali and inked Ali to be a confused young man. Ali told the media that he would be present in Sweden on July 5th to see Floyd Patterson fight Eddie Machen. It was possible that the winner could be facing Ali by year-end or in early 1965. As Ali traveled, articles would surface around America, and Ali was accused of not presenting himself as a good American. A wrestler from Argentina named Antonino Rocca decided to involve himself and speak on Ali's behavior while Ali was out of the country and challenged Ali to a fight. According to Rocca, the fight could happen in or out the squared circle and said that Ali needed to be taught a lesson. Ali was a hot name in the newspapers and was receiving a lot of ink. Could this be an example of clout chasing in 1964? Or was the wrestler from Argentina that concerned about Ali's behavior and relationship with his critics in America, which was mostly white people in the USA? Rocca was not the first wrestler to challenge a boxer and would not be the last. June 5th. In early June, Ali was still outside of the country traveling. Ali said that he was letting his advisors put a match together for later in the year. The fight Ali wanted was the rematch with Sonny Liston. According to Ali and his team, Liston would have to get reinstated by the WBA for the rematch to occur. But Ali and his team was also in hot water with the WBA, and maybe it would be best for Ali to find another opponent and revisit a rematch with Liston in the future, since members of the WBA already said that Ali and Liston both need to be banned from the sport of boxing. But in early June, Ali did not want to be stripped of his WBA belt, and he appeared to be willing to work with the WBA to keep his belt. The target date for Ali's next fight was September 1964. The WBA president said that the WBA is considering Liston's appeal for reinstatement. There was also several requests coming in asking for the federal government to step in on the sport of boxing until the leeches have been removed from the sport. The heat picked up on this subject matter while Ali was traveling, and Ali vs. Liston 1 was being used as a poster fight demonstrating corruption. Even though the WBA would remove Liston from their rankings, newspapers continued to have Liston ranked high, mostly at number 1. Newspapers would only sometimes let the readers know where they were pulling their rankings from. But for the most part, when searching for rankings, Liston was still highly rated when displayed in newspapers. One fighter some fight fans wanted Ali to fight was Henry Cooper. Cooper had gave Ali a tough fight around a year ago. He had also knocked Ali down in the 4th round. Cooper was still receiving praise, especially in the UK, as a fighter that nearly defeated Ali. Cooper had recently defeated fellow UK heavyweight Brian London for the vacant EBU crown and was highly rated. So Cooper, along with Patterson, Chuvalo, Foley, Williams, and Terrell, along with a few others, were being mentioned as possible opponents for Ali in the near future. Not long before Ali would complete his 5-week trip out of the country, he would receive some negative press for cutting his trip to Nigeria short and telling Nigerian sporting officials that his trip to Egypt was more important. Ali was told that if he left Nigeria early, he would be messing up big plans they had for him. He had also promised to give them an exhibition match, attend a soccer game that was held in his honor, and to be a judge in the Miss Nigeria beauty pageant. Not only that, but thousands of Nigerians had bought tickets to see Ali. Ali also received some criticism for saying that his reason for coming to Africa was to show his brothers and sisters that black Americans are now free. He took some time out to criticize Joe Louis, Floyd Patterson, and Sonny Liston for not coming to Africa, saying that they were scared lions and tigers would attack them. He told the African people that Liston was a big ugly bear and that Patterson was a girl. However, he did hold an exhibition in Ghana and also spent some time with world-class middleweight fighter Dick Tiger. Okay, so back to June 24th of 1964. This, of course, was the day that Ali would get back to America after being out of the country for over a month. The main reason he returned was to attend a meeting with the NOI. He also was given a 3,500-pound stone slab removed from a pyramid while visiting Egypt. Ali said that such a gift has never been given to an individual from the Egyptian government. He again raised the question, how could he be such a bad guy and a negative role model when he brings positive energy to every geographic location he travels to? But Ali's critics was hard to satisfy. If he was out of the country, some of them was not happy. When he returned, they still was not happy, especially when word got around that he had returned to attend a meeting with the NOI. Law enforcement was in full effect as death threats had been floating back and forth between Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. A young man was badly beaten as he was accused of being a follower of Malcolm X. Ali also had security and was criticized by the media as a fighter that could not take care of himself. The kind of things that was printed in newspapers. How could a heavyweight champion need security? He's supposed to be the best fighter in the world. But it was better to be safe than unprepared, as the threats being made had nothing to do with who was the better fighter. This was not a boxing match. Ali's critics was even more angry as Ali spoke at the gathering and displayed solid gold that was given to him in Africa. According to his critics, Ali did not help his country make new friends and only traveled for selfish reasons. He also said that black people are better off to completely separate from white people. He shot down the views of Martin Luther King and said that Americans should give black people 5 of the states so that black Americans can build a nation of their own. He also wanted the media to know that he is no longer down with Malcolm X and that his loyalty goes to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the NOI. As long as Malcolm was not with the NOI, then he does not support Malcolm X. He told the media that his next opponent would either be Sonny Liston or the winner of the Floyd Patterson-Eddie Machen fight. The media did take notice of Ali's personality, inking that he was no longer the playful kid of the early 1960s and seemed a little more laid back in mid-1964. Ali also spoke of white people back in America. He said that northern white people are just as racist as the white people in the South. According to Ali, the white people in the South was more honest about their racism. When comparing northern whites and southern whites, Ali asked the media, do you fear more the rattlesnake which warns you before it strikes or the cobra which sneaks up before springing? Basically, he was insinuating that both northern and southern whites are snakes, but have a different way of attacking black people. He also told the media that he feels safer in Africa than anywhere in America and that he may take his training to Egypt. On July 5th, a big-time fight would take place in the heavyweight division. The fight would take place between 2 Americans in Sweden. The 2 highly rated heavyweights was Floyd Patterson and Eddie Machen. Eddie Machen was a trouble fighter from Cali that was cut from the cloth of Sonny Liston as he had spent some time in prison. He spent several years breaking the law. Like the former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson, Machen wanted a world title shot. Machen's life had been a roller coaster and both fighters appeared to be at a crossroads. This was the fight that placed Patterson back on the map in the heavyweight division as he won a 12-round decision over Eddie Machen. After Patterson's victory, he praised Machen and said that Machen deserved the title shot. Patterson said that his main target right now was Sonny Liston. Patterson appeared to want a third fight with Liston more than he wanted a title shot, even telling the media that Machen should get a shot before he did and he could focus on Sonny Liston. Patterson perhaps also wanted a few more fights before a fight with Ali. The outspoken legend Jack Dempsey felt that Patterson should be next for Ali. On July 10th, Dempsey spoke to the media. According to Dempsey, Liston needed to prove himself against a lesser fighter and make sure that his shoulder has been healed before getting another title shot. Liston's corner also needed to stop using the substance that they was perhaps rubbing on Liston's shoulders in between rounds during fights, as this may be the answer as to why some of his opponents complained about having blurry vision and stinging to the eyes during his bouts. And according to rumor, both of Liston's shoulders may have been bad. Dempsey reminded the media that styles make fights and thought that Patterson's style could present some problems for Ali. Dempsey said that he had watched the fight between Patterson and Machen and that Patterson proved that he deserved to be next in line for a title shot. Dempsey concluded that boxing needs federal control and that he will continue to endorse federal involvement in the sport. The big news in boxing on July 10th was a fight between top-rated Ernie Terrell and Bob Foster. Before Bob Foster would become a legendary light heavyweight fighter, he would spend some time in the heavyweight division. Terrell was 6'6" and knew how to use his height in fights. Foster was also a tall fighter, but Terrell was a natural heavyweight. He was not the most crowd-pleasing fighter and would fight off his jab. When his opponents would get mid to close range, Terrell would hold. He was criticized for his jabbing and holding style. Terrell was also said to be a dirty fighter. He would lean on his opponents as the fight was in close quarters.
Press over in the corner. Again, he's coming in out of a half bob and weave. Sharp, snappy jabs scoring for Terrell. 1 minute to go in round 5. Arthur McCanny took round number 5 away from Ernie Terrell and awarded it to Bob Foster because of Terrell's penchant for holding and leaning on his opponent after being warned several times not to. Those are punishing jabs by Terrell. Two pretty good rights by Foster. That's the first time I saw a referee get hit, and it happened to one of the best. How about that? Terrell is really bothering Foster now. And Foster is in real trouble. 5, 6, 7, 8. Fight is being stopped. The fight is being stopped. And Ernie Terrell is the winner in the 7th round. Arthur McCanny decided that Bob Foster was not in any condition to continue, and it is Ernie Terrell, the winner by a knockout. A nice close-up of Ernie's smile. It's the first time he smiled tonight in the ring, but he can relax now. Ernie Terrell has now won 34 fights out of 38 and has lost only 4 and has now scored 17 knockouts.
After stopping Bob Foster, Terrell would call out Ali along with Floyd Patterson and Doug Jones. Terrell said that he was ready for and prepared to fight Ali and didn't need any tune-up fights. But if he could not get an Ali fight right away, Jones or Patterson would be good stay-busy fights. On July 17th, the media continued to follow Ali and his affiliation with the NOI. Ali was called names and labeled by a portion of the media. A name that was thrown out many times when referring to Ali was that Ali was a clown. The media also labeled him as uneducated and would bring up his failed exams with the military. Ali's stance on race relations was also questioned. Some writers inked that the boxing world may have been better off with a criminal in Liston being world heavyweight champion rather than Ali, who according to them had racial hang-ups. The next day, July 18th, Floyd Patterson would finally leave Sweden and head back to America. Patterson had been in Sweden for weeks and was coming off a big win against fellow American fighter Eddie Machen. As soon as Floyd returned to America, he called out the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali. The 29-year-old Floyd Patterson assured the media that he was better now than he had ever been. He also wanted a rematch with Sonny Liston and believed that a third fight with Liston would go much different than the first two bouts went, which resulted in Patterson getting stopped by Liston both times in the very first round. Patterson was praised by the media for not having the controversy surrounding him that Liston and Ali had surrounded them. Many of the writers and former fighters, as well as fight fans, felt that Patterson was a better role model than both Liston and Ali. Ali would stay in the news and on top of the news daily and disagreed with people that thought Patterson was a better role model. Ali saw Patterson as a man that did what white America wanted him to do. He criticized Patterson for not speaking up for black people and as a guy that was staying in his place for white America. July 20th, 1964. An announcement has been made that actor and comedian Stephen Fetchit has joined Team Ali. Fetchit was best known for film and stage appearances coming as early as the 1920s. He was inked to be the first black actor to earn $1 million. In fact, Fetchit had made over $2 million before filing for bankruptcy in the mid-1940s. According to Ali, Fetchit would be in his corner to help him develop a strategy for his next fight. Ali wanted to also help Fetchit revive his career and give Fetchit some time in the spotlight. Fetchit, who had been Catholic the majority of his life, had converted to Islam a few years back and was now with the NOI. The main question the media had for Ali was, who was Ali's next opponent? Ali decided to keep the media in the dark for right now. On July 23rd, Ali returned to Miami Beach to start training for his next opponent. There was rumors that Ali had hired ghost poets in the past, and Ali said that the rumors was not true and that he had wrote all of his own poems. But there was no rhymes and predictions on July 23rd, and according to Ali, he was going to tone some of the rhymes and predictions down. It was inked that his image of a carefree clown with a childlike innocence had vanished. On July 25th, it was announced that Ali was knocked down in sparring by Chip Johnson. After bloodying Ali's mouth, Chip Johnson landed a short right on Ali's chin, flooring him. Ali quickly got up and yelled at Johnson, "Ain't that something? You knocked the champ down." Johnson smiled and jumped out of the ring. "Tell me he's jiving," laughed Johnson. Ali wanted more sparring, but Johnson decided to call it a day while he was ahead. Ali was also said to have a little belly fat and appeared to be out of shape. After the sparring session, Ali told the media that he had been eating wrong, living off donuts and milk. Ali had a cut on the side of his mouth. He was not used to being cut and jokingly asked the media if cuts do eventually heal up. According to Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, this was the first time he had ever been knocked down in sparring. According to Johnson, he did not hit Ali very hard and said he was surprised the right hand had floored Ali, and also said it's possible that Ali was playing around. But according to Ali, the knockdown was legit and he was not in good shape. Ali said that a lesson was learned from the knockdown. He then took some time out and talked about a 17-year-old Muslim woman that he was planning on marrying. He said that he met the youngster while in Sudan. According to Ali, he went out for a few dates with her, and she was escorted on all dates by her brothers. Dundee, who was invited to be Ali's best man, said that he did not believe Ali and told the media that Ali was not serious about marrying the 17-year-old from Sudan. According to Dundee, there may have been something else to Ali's marriage claims. On July 29th, the wait was finally over. It was announced that Ali would be fighting former heavyweight champion of the world, Sonny Liston, in a rematch. The bout would take place somewhere between September the 15th and October 31st of 1964. The WBA would react right away as a statement was released that the WBA did not support the rematch. Las Vegas, Louisville, and Baltimore was announced as possible sites, but it was also announced that there are not many states that would sanction the bout due to behind-the-scenes manipulations that occurred before their first bout back in February. There was accusations of mob activity and Liston throwing the first bout. Then there was recent behaviors displayed by both Ali and Liston, With Liston, it was his criminal activity. With Ali, it was his affiliation with the NOI. Going into the month of August, the media continued to release articles covering Ali's affiliation with the NOI. They wrote about Ali's stance on segregation and inked Ali to be a confused race advisor. The media also continued to release articles asking for an all-out boycott on Ali vs. Liston 2. Pressure was being placed on the WBA to strip Ali of the title. The WBA was the sanctioning body that developed from the NBA. Both the WBA and WBC's first heavyweight title bout was Ali vs. Liston 1. The WBA came around first, but both the WBA and WBC debuted their heavyweight titles in the first Ali vs. Liston fight a few months back. As of August, it was the WBA that was the more vocal sanctioning body regarding Ali vs. Liston 2. According to the WBA, an announcement would be made during their annual convention at month's end. Former heavyweight champion of the world Jack Dempsey continued to lead the charge against the return bout between Ali and Liston. Dempsey also continued to badmouth both fighters, telling the media that Ali and Liston would not have survived in his era and that both fighters were quitters. Dempsey would again tell the media that Ali was also a quitter and nearly quit in the fight against Liston due to a blinding substance getting in his eye, and that quitting was not an option to be considered a top-tier warrior in the 1920s. Dempsey was backed up by a handful of fighters that came from his era that were still alive in 1964. Dempsey's voice carried weight, and he recommended that a fight between Ali and Patterson would be more acceptable. Dempsey was also against return bouts and reminded the media that when he lost to Gene Tunney, he had to prove himself in a bout facing Jack Sharkey before he could get a rematch with Tunney. According to Dempsey, he thought that Liston should have to do the same and prove that his shoulder was good before getting a rematch with Ali. Dempsey and the majority of fighters from the past did not honor the champion's new name and still called Ali Clay. August 8th, Liston told the media that even though he injured his shoulder, he knows what he had done wrong in the first fight. He said that there was no operation performed on the shoulder and that all he needed was rest. Liston told the media that he wanted his championship back and said that the money was also important, but was not as important as getting back his title. He admitted that he had underestimated Ali and said that Ali was afraid of him and that Ali ran the whole fight. When reporters asked Liston if he believed Ali was still afraid of him, Liston said that Ali would always be afraid of him, in and outside of the ring. When asked his game plan, Liston told the media that his game plan was a secret. Liston was never a media-friendly fighter, but after losing to Ali and a few negative articles surfacing, Liston was less tolerant than he had been in the past with the media, and he addressed the media with a chip on his shoulder. He always had a chip on his shoulder, but he was even more short and less friendly than he used to be. August 14th, 1964, the heavyweight champion of the world marries a model named Sanji Roy. Sanji Roy was a woman he had only dated for about 6 weeks. When Ali showed up to meet with the media for the first time after being married, his new bride was not present. When asked where she was, Ali told the media that Muslim women stay in the background and do not seek attention. Ali also jumped on the media for still calling him Cassius Clay. He said that when he does decide to have children, he and his new bride will not have their children in America. He went on to say that the wicked world is going to be destroyed, and this occurred in the same discussion as him speaking out against America. In 1964, this was viewed by many Americans as anti-American rhetoric. Going back to his marriage, something that many of the fight fans saw as a problem was that Ali had only met his new bride about 2 months earlier and had dated her for only about 6 weeks. She was new to Islam. This was not a woman he had dated for several years, so would a new wife be able to hold up to Ali's expectations?
The WB. I don't know none of the members of it. I never even heard much about them, but I don't know. I will say to the WBA, what reason do they have to stone me as Jesus once said when he was being crucified?
From which of my deeds do you stone me? Do you stone me because I don't drink? Do you stone me because I don't smoke? Do you stone me because I'm not married to a white woman? Do you stone me because I love my people? Do you stone me because I stand for the truth? What reason do you stone me? Who didn't have a pro fight? They built that to be a big fight. This cut and shoot Texas, Roy Harris, they built that to be a big fight. Now here's the biggest man in all history. A few months ago, Sonny Liston, all of a sudden this fight shouldn't go off because he don't stand a chance. They're just making themselves look bad in the eyes of the intelligent world.
Reports from Boston spoke of you as having calmed down a great deal, that you're not your old self. Is there any particular reason for this? Have you, in fact, calmed down?
Well, I'm still talking, as you see, but on a defensive style. I'm seen to be such a villain now, and I have to talk to speak my piece and what I think about certain things, and this and that, but I'm not talking on the same angle. I was only campaigning before the fight. Now I'm the champion. I don't have to say the same things.
You know, all this talk about I'm the greatest and all that was just campaigning, is that it?
Yeah, that was just campaigning. After all, I did prove to be the greatest, but I don't have to say it no more. They tell me.
In other words, now that you've made it, you don't have to make the boast anymore, is that it?
No, I don't have to boast like I used to.
Well, you think your personality has changed since you've won the title?
Well, I'm a little more relaxed and settled. As you can see, I have a pretty wife here. And I don't have to talk like I do. She don't like me to talk too much, do you? Yeah. She told me to be quiet.
Did you tell your husband to be quiet?
She was one of the people who quieted me down.
Why did you do that?
Action speaks for itself. You didn't have to talk anymore.
She said, I don't have to talk anymore. She don't like to talk either. She just like to listen.
What, in your own mind, will you still be world champion even though they take away this title?
Well, this is just the WBA. They're talking about him, and when they get that champion, I guess I'll still be recognized as champion in some places. But you really never will prove a man a world champion until he beat the champion. I won the title in the ring. I didn't win the title at a desk, and they shouldn't take it at a desk. So the people don't go for this. This is going to start trouble all over the country, because I have many people who love me that don't go for it. And there's enough trouble going on now to be jumping on a man like me who's peaceful.
You think they were jumping on you, though, unjustifiably?
That's right. Why do you want to take my title because I signed the fight? Liston, the world wanting to see the fight. Liston deserves another chance. He lasted a good 6 rounds. Other title fighters, other champions got rematches. Why not Liston? And plus, the world didn't believe that a lot of them think Liston's going to beat me again. So that don't prove nothing.
Jones and Floyd Patterson.
Well, Cleveland Williams is shot. He's an old fighter. He can't fight. Liston knocked him out 2 or 3 times a few years ago. He's no good. He's through. Floyd Patterson is nothing. He wouldn't go around with me. And Ernie Terrell is just a big string bean. He has no rhythm or no style. He's not fast. He wouldn't stand a chance with me. And Doug Jones, he was good meat, but he just got beat. He's nothing. So I'm the world heavyweight champion. Ain't no way to get behind it. You can't take my title at the desk. I didn't win it at the desk, and you can't take it at the desk. If they want my title, take it in the ring. You just can't take my title. People know I'm the world's best boxer. You just can't overshadow me by taking 4 bums and putting them together and trying to make a new champion. It won't work, and the public is not going for it. They'll never be satisfied unless I be beat.
August 17th, the WBA are gearing up for their annual convention at month's end. Ali's team have been invited to the convention. It is at the convention that the WBA will plan to make their decision on whether they will back the upcoming fight between Ali and Sonny Liston. As of this time, the WBA still has Liston removed from their rankings. They had just recently done this, and according to the WBA, they do not support rematches and have an issue with a contract that was allegedly signed by Ali with Intercontinental Promotions that included the rematch with Liston. Initially, the WBA also had an issue with both Ali and Liston's lives outside of the ring and had issues with how both fighters behaved. The WBA did not believe that the fighters were good role models, and as of August 20th, the target date for the fight now was September the 28th. According to some reports, Las Vegas is still being considered at this time as a site that would feature the fight, along with Baltimore and Louisville. Many of the media were still throwing out accusations of foul play in the first fight, and were also asking that no state picks the fight up, and many was hoping that the WBA would vacate their belt. By the time the end of the month came, Liston and Ali's representatives had showed up at the convention and satisfied the WBA's suspicion on the contract Ali had allegedly signed with Liston's promotional group. But it was not enough to convince the WBA to reinstate Liston and support the rematch. The WBA decided to sit on their decision for a few more days. Ali, who had started light training, was said to be out of shape. Although he was out of shape, he continued to speak on leaving the country to film a movie and had left Miami Beach to spend some time being advised by his leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Muhammad, how do you feel since you just got married?
Oh, I've been married. I didn't just get married, I've been married.
How long have you been married?
Oh, I've been married for about 1 month.
1 month. And what are you doing in Chicago?
Well, I'm in Chicago speaking to my leader, Elijah Muhammad, on a few things that I have to do. I'm getting ready to go back to Cairo, Egypt to film a 2-hour Technicolor movie, me featuring it, and I'll be leaving here in about a week.
Do you think marriage will have any effect on your ability to fight?
No, marriage will not have no effect on my ability to fight. And in the Islamic religion, we don't, that's our business. Marriage and this and that is our business, and we're not like the Western people. We keep our women in the background, we respect them, and we don't tell all our business. So anything you ask me about marriage, you might not get an answer.
2 days after the WBA announced that they would sit on their decision to pick up the Ali vs. Liston rematch, the WBA doubled down on their stance to not support a rematch between the two and said that if the two parties proceed, they will be vacating the WBA title. They left room for Ali to pull out of the upcoming rematch and said that if a date and location on the rematch is announced by promoters, the WBA title will effectively become vacant on announcement. At that time, the WBA would begin an elimination tournament to crown their new champion. The promoters and teams of Ali and Liston responded around 2 weeks later and said that they will proceed with the rematch and that they have reached an agreement with the Massachusetts Boxing Commission to hold the fight in Boston on November 16th. The WBA responded and stripped Ali of the title and banned the Massachusetts Boxing Commission. September the 16th. Bad news for both Ali and Liston. The other big sanctioning body, the WBC, announced and imposed a worldwide ban on the upcoming rematch between Ali and Liston. They announced that they support the WBA's decision and also followed the WBA on their ban of the Massachusetts Boxing Commission, as the Massachusetts Boxing Commission had agreed to place the fight in Boston on November the 16th. An angry Ali would address the media on September the 19th. Ali was in New York to receive a championship belt from the Ring magazine, who appeared to support Ali along with other boxing purists. In fact, there were several boxing experts that felt as though Ali was being treated unfairly and felt that the way to defeat Ali was in the ring. Regardless on what stance the WBA and WBC would take, the Ring magazine would present Ali with their belt, and this appeared to be a reaction taken by boxing purists that felt the way to defeat Ali was in the ring. The Ring magazine let it be known that Ali was still their champion and that they will continue to promote and print Ali as their champion until the fighter could defeat Ali in the ring. According to Ali, he was the champion and there was no man on the planet that could take his title in the ring. Ali believed that the sanctioning bodies were not happy about him being an outspoken young athlete. According to Ali, they wanted him to behave like Floyd Patterson, who Ali believed was programmed to satisfy racist white America. He then decided to finally respond to Jack Dempsey, who had been vocal on both himself and Liston since February. Ali told the media that he would have stopped Dempsey in 2 rounds. He also said that Dempsey was overrated and thought that Dempsey was a bitter old fighter that did not respect the modern-day fighters of the 1960s. The media would follow up with the legend Dempsey that very day at his restaurant, which was located right across the street from where Ali received his award from the Ring magazine. When they arrived, Dempsey was sitting in his restaurant with a room full of past fighters and boxing minds. Apparently, Dempsey received the word right away that Ali was across the street and not happy with him and his recent statements regarding both him and Sonny Liston and the rematch. A calm Dempsey told the media that he expects young fighters to speak that way, and that every young fighter that's on top thinks that they could beat every fighter to ever live. Dempsey knew that Ali was angry and attempted to defuse the situation, but another past fighter was present and spoke out against Ali as the legend sat at the table. The fighter was Mickey Walker. Mickey Walker was a former welterweight and middleweight champion that fought during Dempsey's era and had also stepped outside of the color line. He did not like the fact that Ali was being disrespectful towards Dempsey and decided he would be the one out of the room full of old heads to speak out. Walker went on an angry rant. Jack could flatten that Clay bum now. He can't fight. With 2 weeks training, I can flatten him too. According to the media, Walker continued to rant, saying some things that was better to keep out of the newspaper. Dempsey placed his hand on an animated Walker's shoulder and told Walker it was not worth it and not to worry about Clay. Walker was 63 and Dempsey was now 69, and maybe these guys would have walked across the street where Ali was if Ali had been in the environment 40 years earlier, but the time was now 1964, not 1924. Doing some research, it appears as though Dempsey's restaurant was a place where boxing experts and past fighters would gather up and have long, heated debates and discussions on the sweet science. All day, from open to close, boxing debates and discussions would take place, and day by day, nobody never knew for sure who would show up to participate in these debates. It would usually be boxing experts and old fighters themselves. Ali, who was right across the street in town, stayed away from the restaurant. According to rumor, Ali said that the restaurant was a gathering spot for bitter old fighters and fight fans. After September the 19th, Dempsey seemed to have pumped the brakes just a little on Ali as the media had caught up with him and his buddy Billy Conn at Dempsey's popular restaurant. Dempsey told the media that he favors Ali to defeat Liston in the rematch. He said that Ali has a lot of natural ability, but then said that the era was weak and he was not sure where Ali was at with his ability as a fighter. According to Dempsey, Ali had not did enough yet to be compared to legendary fighters. Then Dempsey went on to say that Ali and Liston looked like contestants in a Fat Man's contest when they had signed for the rematch, and that a 40-year-old Liston had been lying about his age by 10 years. Dempsey said that the 40-year-old Liston is a one-armed fighter and that Liston was very slow. Liston's age was a popular discussion in Dempsey's restaurant. Then Billy Conn weighed in. Billy Conn, who was over 20 years younger than Dempsey, around 47 at the time, was a legendary former light heavyweight champion that fought in the Joe Louis era. Most of the fighters from Conn's era looked up to Dempsey as he came from the era before them, but was old enough to remember a prime Dempsey as children. It was Dempsey that fighters from the Conn era listened to on the radio growing up. Conn, along with Dempsey, picked Ali to win the rematch and said that Liston had underestimated Ali in the first bout, but at this point, Liston was past his prime and could not beat Ali. According to Conn, Liston was around 40 years old. Conn also said that Liston was a quitter and said that he does not like quitters. He also reminded the media that Ali had to be pushed back into the fight by Angelo Dundee and that he was about to quit the fight soon. This was a popular discussion at Dempsey's restaurant. Conn concluded by saying maybe Liston had a chance because Ali might be overconfident and that Ali was 90% black Muslim and 10% fighter. Dempsey appeared to enjoy the way Conn laid out his prediction, smiling as Conn talked about Liston and Ali. Ali, who had recently said that he was in training, was still looking as though he had put on a few pounds since his last fight. On September the 30th, the media again asked him his weight. Ali told the media that his weight will be a secret weapon and that it will not be announced until fight night. Ali still had a month and a half to prepare for his upcoming defense with Sonny Liston, scheduled for November 16th. He appeared to be a little more playful than he had been over the past few months as Ali returned to his trash talk.
We were trying to catch the bear, but he got away that day.
Well, that's clowning, isn't it?
No, it wasn't clowning. We'll catch him in the ring that night, and you will see. Yeah. And after we get the bear, we want the rabbit.
Who's the rabbit?
Floyd Patterson is the rabbit. We're going to have some carrots and some lettuce to trap him. And some little dogs to catch that rabbit. I want him right after I beat Patterson. And when we finish the rabbit, we want the washwoman.
Who's the washwoman?
George Chivaldo, the washwoman in Canada. This fella just knocked out Doug Jones.
Many of the writers had missed that side of Ali and started to ink Ali as an angry young fighter that had a change of personality since becoming heavyweight champion of the world. Ali would give the media a few sound bites telling the media that after he is finished beating Liston, he would be looking for fights with the rabbit Floyd Patterson and the washwoman George Chivallo. As Ali entered the month of October in 1964, he spent less time in the media spotlight and more time in the gym. It appeared as though October 9th was the day that the media chose to ask other black athletes their opinion on Ali. October 9th was the day that a few opinions would surface around the country. On October 9th, Reuben Hurricane Carter, a popular middleweight from that time period, would verbally tear into Ali. Carter was cut from a cloth of Sonny Liston and being a fighter that was known to bring fear to others. However, he was not as quiet as Liston. Even though Hurricane Carter was not a heavyweight, his presence and reputation as a no-nonsense tough guy exceeded most heavyweights. Carter was asked about Ali and told the media that Clay was a detriment to boxing. According to Carter, Ali was a confused kid and didn't know what he was talking about regarding race relations. He also said that he had a problem with Ali portraying himself as the spokesperson for black fighters and athletes. Carter said that Clay did not speak for him and that Clay spoke for Clay. He also refused to acknowledge him by his new name. Carter said that he had nothing against the NOI and even said that he supported their message, but believed Ali to be a young man that ignorantly spoke on race relations. Hurricane Carter's future after this point would be very interesting. The same guy that Carter spoke on and spoke against and perhaps doubted some may one day be in Carter's corner. Also, on October 9th, Joe Louis gave his opinion on Ali. Joe Louis took it one step further than Hurricane Carter and said that he is against the black Muslims and said that he is against Ali being a black Muslim. Black Muslims was what the media preferred to call the NOI. Joe Louis was also still calling Ali by his birth name of Clay and had plenty to say about Ali. Louis first wanted to let the media know that he supports the NAACP and Martin Luther King and said that he has donated money to them and others and is a friend of Dr. King and has been a member of the NAACP since 1935. Joe Louis said that the black Muslims are holding black people back and that Ali has been brainwashed by them. He said that he initially thought Ali was smart, but Ali proved otherwise by allowing the Muslims to influence him. According to Joe Louis, Ali could have been a great role model and a bigger name in the sport if he decided not to join the Muslims. He then went on to speaking about his experience along with Jackie Robinson's experience in the Army. He spoke on guys like him and Jackie Robinson breaking color lines. Another athlete that now supported Ali and the NOI was the Cleveland Browns star running back Jim Brown. Even though he was not in the NOI, he supported the NOI, and at this point, Jim Brown had proved himself as a solid football player, and some was calling him the greatest football player to ever play the game. Even though Brown was strongly opinionated, according to Brown himself, he had been holding back for several years on how he felt about race relations. His stance was more in line with that of the NOI more so than that of Dr. Martin Luther King and the NAACP. Ali and Liston were now training for the rematch. Liston met with the media on October 23rd. He wanted the world to know that he did not quit in the first fight and that his trainer had stopped the bout. Liston said that he wanted the fight to go on and did not agree with his trainer stopping the fight. Liston said that he made a mistake going for a quick knockout and that this time he would be ready to go 15 rounds if need be, but said he would stop Ali inside the distance. Clay was not the best fighter I ever faced, Cleveland Williams was. I just took Clay too lightly in the first fight. I don't now. According to Liston, he had been sparring 6 rounds a day for well over a month. He said that the shoulder injury, which had been injured before the first fight, is no longer an issue. October 24th, there's a new heavyweight to discuss. That would be the only American Olympic gold medalist from the 1964 team, Joe Frazier. As of this time, Frazier was telling the media that he was not sure if he would be turning pro, and he will be getting some rest and then returning to his job as a skinner at the slaughterhouse in Philly. October 31st, 1964, Ali briefly broke camp to attend a Halloween party for children with special needs. Ali, who was training across the street, was invited to attend the party. The school superintendent said that they extended the invitation, not expecting Ali to actually show up. The children sat and waited on Ali and didn't want to start the party until Ali arrived. Some of the teachers did prepare the children to be disappointed as Ali was busy training for Liston, but Ali showed up and signed autographs and spent the whole party with the children, putting on a show and talking about his upcoming match with Liston, making the children laugh, telling them stories about the big bad bear. Stepin Fetchit joined Ali on his visit to the school. Both Stepin Fetchit and Ali, they knew how to put on a show. They spent a lot of time signing autographs, making the children laugh, and partying with the children. Ali then went back across the street and concluded his training for the day. In early November, Ali started to open up to the media again as fight night was around 2 weeks away.
I'm the fastest, I'm the most scientific, I'm the most creative, I'm the most artistic, I have the prettiest footwork, the prettiest face. There'll never be another fighter like me.
Even after you beat him for the title, that you're still not a fighter. Where's your comment for this?
Oh, he's right. I'm not a fighter. I can't fight. I'm nothing. I've only had 250 fights, never lost none. World Olympic gold medal winner, 2-time United States AAU champion, international Pan American game champion, national AAU champion, 59 and 60. Have predicted what round my opponents will fall in 16 fights. Don't have a mark on me, but I can't fight.
But on November 7th, word had reached the media that Liston was looking great in sparring and was beating up his sparring partners so bad that many of Liston's sparring partners had left camp. A day earlier, on November 6th, Sonny Liston had opened up a huge cut on sparring partner Lee Williams' eye. It was a cut that did require some stitches, so there you have it, another sparring partner sent on his way. Liston also had some words for Jack Dempsey and said that critics like Dempsey say that he should have to test his shoulder to get a rematch by taking another fight. Liston then asked, where was this the man for Floyd Patterson to prove that he could take a punch before giving a rematch with him? Dempsey, along with the other boxing experts, had nothing to say back then. So why is there a big demand for a rematch not to take place now? Patterson also received a direct rematch with Ingemar Johansson. The sanctioning body that developed into the WBA did not have any issues with these rematches taking place, and according to Liston, Dempsey and the other living legends did not have much to say at that time regarding the Patterson rematches. That was a very good point made by Sonny Liston. There was no response found by Dempsey and all the old heads over there at Dempsey's restaurant in regards to Patterson receiving these rematches. Dempsey and the old heads had been over there talking about rematches and saying that rematches should not be allowed. According to some, these discussions was not taking place in the restaurant before then. The WBA said that they don't believe in rematches. When they was the NBA, they had no problems with Patterson receiving rematches. News also was coming from out of Louisville. The fight would be banned from all television in the whole state of Kentucky, including Ali's hometown of Louisville. But there was criticism coming from boxing experts as well, as fight fans preferred to see Ali lose his titles in the ring. The question was raised, was Ali and Liston being treated fairly? Ali would quickly respond to the news on Liston stopping sparring partners.
You want to make a prediction in rhyme, or are you going to work on that for a while?
Well, it'll have to be in rhyme every time. I heard you have 4 or 5 boys up there that I beat about 4 years ago. Fellas like Alonzo Johnson and a few more bums that shot. He'd go out and find them, pull them back out of the alley, bring them in the gym, tell them that I want to
build up my confidence. He beat me like he was my daddy the last time. I have to build up my confidence, and he'd go find these bums, and he'd line them up, and he'd beat them and punch them around, and then they write a big write-up about how good he's looking. And I understand that he had a few sparring partners there that did leave because they wanted them to take a dive to make it look good. But the real dive will come on November the 16th, and in your hearts, you know I'm right.
On November 13th, 1964, 3 days before the scheduled rematch, which had Liston established as a 13-5 favorite, the fight would have to be canceled and set for a later date as Ali was diagnosed with hernia. But there was no way the bout could take place. Ali would be under the knife. The big fight would have to be postponed. So the word got out quickly that Ali would not be able to fight until at least 6 months out, which would push the fight forward into 1965. Liston was reached by phone and said that if Clay had not been running all around the streets, there would not be anything wrong with him. Liston was talking about Ali, who was seen a few days earlier in busy traffic stopping vehicles and asking drivers and passengers if they had seen the big ugly bear. Ali was only 22 years old, and when Ali was too serious, the media wanted to know what happened to the playful kid. As of recent, Ali had been back to his old ways and was having a lot of fun going out into the public to promote the fight. Cars was driving by, he would stop the cars in busy traffic, and he would get them to roll their windows down, and he would ask them questions like, did you see the big ugly bear? And come to the fight on November the 21st if you want to see the bear get slayed. Things of that nature. On November 21st, Ali spoke to the media from the hospital and said that the cancellation of the bout hurt him more than the pain that came from the hernia. He said that both himself and Liston were in the best shape of their lives and said that he regrets the setback. He also said that it was even tougher for a man of Sonny's age to have such a camp and to be let down by the cancellation of the fight. Ali confirmed that the rematch will not happen until about 6 months later, or perhaps even a little longer. He said he had lost some weight since the operation and was now down to 200 pounds. As of the time that Ali spoke to the media after the operation, Ali was looking forward to leaving the hospital more than anything. He just wanted to get him some rest and then get back to training. On November the 27th, both Ali and Liston was seen with their wives. For Ali, it was a big day as he was being released from the hospital. Sonny Liston was seen with his wife going on a walk. Liston didn't mind a few pictures but was not in the mood to talk at length with the media. He told the media that he had placed hard work into his recent training camp and acknowledged that he would have to stay motivated to keep the fire burning for another training camp. Ali appeared happy to be released from the hospital and got back in touch with the media instantly.
Beautiful girl that kept me polite. This is her, and as you can see, she is also beautiful, and this is why she trusts me. Thank you, darling.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Has this humbled you at all, this experience? I mean this in the true sense of the word.
What you mean humble? What you mean when humble?
Do you feel a sense of gratefulness?
Gratefulness?
That these accomplished surgeons were.
Oh, yeah, man. I wouldn't know. I was just telling one of the doctors the other day how sorry I feel for the people back in the colonial days when they'd have operations, you know. It's a strange thing. When I come into the hospital, I had promoted the number round 9 for Liston. And I don't know, doctor, he's not in here, but he'll bear witness to the fact that when he gave me the needle to put me to sleep when I was in pain for the operation, he told me to count to 10. And on the count of 9 is when I fell out.
Step and fetch it there?
No. He's in good shape. He's 72 years old.
Yeah. Sonji, how do you feel about this? Are you happy that your husband is being released from the hospital? Would you step in and tell us, please?
Yes, I am.
She don't talk too much. I just do all the talking.
Cassius, did the bus trip take anything out of you, and was it worth the $1,800 it cost you?
Mohammed. My name's Mohammed. Y'all keep calling me Cassius. I'm tired of telling you. You know, you're intelligent. My name is Muhammad Ali, not Cassius. $1,800 is nothing to me. I draw $7 million whenever I fight, and $1,800 is nothing.
Champ, Liston hopes you don't have another hernia operation.
See, now you rather say Champ than Muhammad. See? I got a surprise that will shock the world. I will not tell you, because if I tell you when I'm going to do it, the people won't come to the fight. That should be a hint right there. What kind of fight? A hint to the wise is sufficient.
I want some applause or something. You can I hear that my main man Cassius Clay is up in the hospital in Boston, Massachusetts, laid up with a hernia operation. Oh, this can't happen to us. That's my main man Cassius Clay. After all, look at the money we've got out on you. Come on, Cassius, pull on through like a champ should.
How about this afternoon? What happened?
How's the champ feeling about it?
Oh, he's in good shape. Getting evil slowly. He was in good shape.
What did he say?
They talked to him about an operation? He didn't say anything. You know, I guess maybe I'm glad it happened like this, because if it had happened in the fight, you know, then it might have really hurt him. The guy hit him in the body or something. Maybe he'd have lost his life.
Doctors in Boston say there won't be a heavyweight title fight Monday night. Cassius Clay has suffered an abdominal hernia.
Clay was stricken just as he sat down to eat dinner tonight at his hotel and was rushed to the hospital, where he was x-rayed and taken to the surgery floor for examination.
The big bout, slated for Boston next Monday, has suffered what's estimated to be a 6-month setback. But after Clay's first fight against Sonny Liston, it's doubtful if the return match may be worth waiting that long for. Well, perhaps if Cassius Clay had eaten our ragu spaghetti sauce, he might not be in the trouble he's in right now.
You know a number of things about Cassius Clay. What do you know?
He is a poet.
What else?
He is a Muslim.
And he is a champ.
He thinks he's going to beat Sonny Liston.
And he is.
He will. Oh, no, he won't.
Yes, he will.
Oh, no, he won't.
You want to bet?
This is not facts, you know. I don't think he should be condemned because of his religion.
I think Cassius Clay is a great guy personally. And despite all the pressure he's under from the press and the public, he's maintained his image and his own identity with his people and with his feelings.
I think he's played a kind of wonderful kind of sight game on the American public in order for him to gain what he needs. It's a shame that black people have to go through such a phenomenal chore even to be recognized.
I feel that Africa is, at this present time, is not our home. I think my forefathers have died in this country, and I claim this country as mine. As for separation or etc., my main point is that I would like to get out of the reservation on 145th Street. It is a reservation, it is a ghetto, and it is a Harlem, and I think this is what our fight is for, to be able to function in the mainstream of all of American life, because we are Americans and we did build this country.
You are Cassius Clay, won the Olympic Championship in Rome. This is the medal in first place. You are the NBC reporter here to interview Cassius, who's just about to go in his locker room, but you just beat him. You all right, Cassius?
Yeah, I'm okay.
It's all yours, baby.
There was nothing to it. It was life.
This is the NBC News correspondent, Cecilia Clay. Coming from Rome.
Some say the best was Sugar Ray, but that was before they saw Cassius Clay.
May I quote that, Mr. Clay?
Certainly you may. Not a mark. Do you see that? Not a mark. Touch me. I'm good.
Yes, well, we all know that out of television land, Mr. Clay. How do you spell that?
G-R-A. Well, I didn't sound as smart as
Another point that was brought up by the media was that Ali being out for 6 months would be the longest postponed championship fight in boxing history. I have not confirmed this, but according to the media of 1964, postponed championship fights were not a common thing that took place in boxing. December 18th, 1964. Angelo Dundee has been promoted to now be the manager of Muhammad Ali. The news came as Ali's past manager had just had a heart attack. Dundee liked playing the guy in the background that would say, hey, I'm just a working man. Now he would have to handle all of Ali's issues himself. There was no doubt about it that Dundee would have a full plate going into the year of 1965. In the next episode, we will begin to cover the first reign of Ali, as well as take a closer look at the environment of the 1960s heavyweight scene, along with a closer look at the heavyweight fighters of the time period. Be sure to check out the playlists, as we have developed one for Ali, and also check out the Marvin Hagler playlist, as the final episode of Marvin Hagler Rise to a Title Shot will be coming soon.